Turn me on.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to get started. Good evening. I'd like to call this regular City Council meeting scheduled June 7th at 6 p.m. The time is 6:04. Madam Clerk?
Mayor Ronnie Felder,
Here.
Chairperson Douglas Lawson,
Here.
Chair Pro Tem Shirley Lanier. Here. Councilperson Troderick McCoy. Councilperson Kashamba Miller Anderson.
Present.
Councilperson Julia Botel.
Here.
Jonathan Evans, City Manager. Tawana Smith, Interim City Clerk is present. Ms. Keandra Davis, Assistant City Attorney.
Here.
Mr. Trenton Hill of Palm Beach Christian Academy is present. You have a quorum, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And can we go ahead and have a moment of silence? And then we are going to have our Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Trenton Hill. Trenton Hill is a rising fifth grader at Palm Beach Christian Academy. His parents, Tommy and Wendy's, are his parents. Trenton's grandmother is Patricia Dozier, who's a lifelong resident of Riviera Beach. Trenton is a well-rounded student, and he's on the honor roll. He received an award for being most creative student in his class, and as far as extracurricular activities, Trenton enjoys playing soccer, baseball, chess. He's going to be a safety patrol next year. So Trenton, welcome, and please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If everyone can please rise.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Great job, Trenton. Madam Clerk, do we have any additions, deletions, or substitutions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do. We would like to add item 6D, which is the Royal Oceans Day Proclamation. Also, we'd like to add item 6E, which is a legislative update from Representative Edmonds and Powell, and also our lobbyist, Mr. Sean Pittman. And then additionally, Mr. Chair, we'd like to have the proclamations read prior to the presentations.
Mr. Chair. Could
Councilwoman, go ahead.
Could we please move the World Oceans Day proclamation to the first proclamation?
Okay with the board?
Thank you very
Pleasure of
much.
the board. 6. So we'll be moving the proclamation to 6A.
We'll just be taking them first.
Just take it first. Thank you.
Yes.
Any additional deletions?
And Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please go ahead,
just-
Mr. Evans.
Just for the record, to correct the record, it is State Senator Powell, and then our lobbyist, Mr. Sean Pittman, will also participate in the legislative update with Representative Edmonds.
Thank you, Mr. Evans, and thank you for the update. Any other additions, deletions, or substitutions? Board, I wanted to discuss removing item 12A, the discussion item of city-owned properties, and moving this to one of our workshops that are coming up. Mr. Evans did send out a doodle poll. If we can move it, because that discussion is going to be something that's going to be a little bit more in-depth and given clear direction. So if we can move that to a workshop.
That's fine with me.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So 12A will be removed from the agenda.
Thank you. Any disclosures by the board? Staff?
Yes. I spoke with the representative from the Minto Car Wash, and I think that's it.
Board? Thank you. Can I have a motion to adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Hotel,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
That vote passes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Moving on to the consent agenda, all matters listed under this item are considered to be routine in action and will be taken with one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a councilperson so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the general order of business and considered in this normal sequence. Does anyone want to pull any items from the consent? Motion to accept?
So moved.
Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards on consent items.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk?
Councilperson Botel,
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson,
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier,
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson.
Yes.
That vote passes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Awards and presentations? Madam Clerk?
Awards and presentations, we're going to take the proclamation, which is
6D.
item 6D as in David, World's Ocean Day proclamation. That would be read by Dr. Botel.
Thank you. Councilman Botel?
Thank you. Proclamation from the Office of the Mayor, City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, declaring June 9th, 2023 as World Oceans Day. Whereas World Oceans Day reminds us of the very beginnings of life and the many benefits and services the oceans have been providing to all people in all places around the globe. And whereas World Oceans Day was initially proposed at the 1992 Earth Summit in Rio de Janeiro, and June 8th was officially declared World Oceans Day by the United Nations in 2008. And whereas this celebration has grown from a ripple into a tidal wave with a myriad of activities around the world aimed at increasing awareness about how oceans work and how their health is related to our well-being. And whereas the City of Riviera Beach, like so many coastal communities and towns, owes its cultural heritage and sense of place to the ocean and its natural jewels. And whereas the Intracoastal Waterway and the Atlantic Ocean meet at the Palm Beach Inlet, representing a self-sustaining, biodiverse habitat, supporting marine life from tiny phytoplankton producing the oxygen we breathe to amazing dolphins that serve as flagship species for the entire 7 seas. And whereas world-class ocean explorers, researchers, and their organizations have chosen Riviera Beach and adjacent communities as their home and headquarters, continuing the work of previous generations while advancing and contributing to the protection of our marine world and the sustainable development of our city of Riviera Beach, including the Terrace Oceanographic Foundation and its dolphin conservation research, Sea Turtle Conservation League of Singer Island, Palm Beach and Jupiter Dolphin Tours, the Manatee Lagoon, the Reef Institute, Port of Palm Beach, and the Ungari Foundation, to name a few. Now, therefore, be it finally resolved that I, Ronnie Felder, Mayor of the City of Riviera Beach in Palm Beach County, by the power vested in me by the residents of Riviera Beach, do hereby proclaim that June 9th, 2023 shall be known as World Oceans Day in the City of Riviera Beach and be recognized and celebrated as a means to foster support for those who have dedicated their lives to ocean research and conservation and advance awareness and appreciation of our oceans, their sustainable resource use, and stewardship for our common future. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the official seal of the City of Riviera Beach to be affixed this 17th day, this 6th day of June, what's today? The 7th day of June, 2023 AD. Thank you. And we have Dr. Stefan Harzen with us this evening. And Dr. Harzen is just going to say a couple of words about how we will be celebrating World Oceans Day here in Riviera Beach. I'm sure you saw the wonderful art exhibition on the way in, and that's part of our celebration. Dr. Harzen.
Good evening, Honorable Chair, Honorable Council members, to all the staff of City of Riviera Beach, of course, to all the residents. My great pleasure to be here once again, a year later, for the second iteration of World Ocean Day celebration with the City of Riviera Beach. I hope you noticed when you walked in that your hallway looks more like a cultural institution now than a few days ago. Once again, we put an art exhibit out there dedicated to ocean themes. And because we had a request to keep it there longer, it will stay until the end of August. So I encourage you to embrace. I will not talk much about the ocean because we were just listening to all the good things the ocean does for all of us. I would like you to continue to embrace the idea of celebrating World Ocean Day as one of your major assets, being a coastal city, and encourage your staff to participate and now to visit the art show. And those who have tickets will come to the concert on Friday night, which is also dedicated to the ocean. And you can see the artwork for more than 2 months now. And I had a conversation with one of the staff members, so I just wanted to say that if you look at the artwork and you don't know what to make of it, Don't feel bad. It's quite normal. Sometimes artists like to express something, and we don't get it the first time around, a little bit like in science. Not to worry, maybe by the end of August you figured it out, and even if you never figured out, I hope you enjoy it just for the aesthetic value and the added value it brings to your facility. So every time you come back here or other people will visit the building, that they can enjoy it and realize that Riviera Beach is part of the community of ocean communities and celebrating and treasuring the ocean resources that are provided to you. And with that, I thank you very much for the opportunity to say a few words, and I wish you a very successful meeting.
Mr. Chair, could I
Go
just
ahead.
ask Dr. Harson to say how people can get tickets to the concert on
Well,
the
it's
night?
almost sold out now, I think, but it was listed on Eventbrite. It was passed through some mechanisms, I think, throughout the administration, if I may call it that, in the city of Riviera Beach. If you're still looking for tickets, you can always reach me through the various members of your staff who have been participating in organizing the meeting. And before I forget, let me just point out that the staff, both in preparation of the event and also the staff here at the particular venue, have been extremely helpful and supportive of putting it all together, hanging up the artwork. So we won't forget it, and I hope you don't either. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor, for coming, and thank you for your words. Councilwoman Motel, thank you. Comments from the board? Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Yes, we're going to go to item 6C, proclamation declaring June 19, 2023 as Juneteenth Day. And that would be presented by Ms. Lanier.
Proclamation from the office of the mayor, City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, declaring June 19th, 2023 as Juneteenth Day. Whereas after President Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation was signed on January the 1st, 1863, declaring the enslaved people in Confederate territories free, this seminal act paved the way for the passage of the 13th Amendment, which formally abolished slavery in the United States of America. Now, there's a passage that says, whereas about the signing of the Emancipation Proclamation was tragically delayed, but it was delayed because there was a civil war raging, and there were Black troops who were already in Galveston waiting on Granger to come. So I just wanted to make that correction. Whereas through Emancipation Day, observations are held on different days in various states across the South, Southwest, and the broader nation. The date June 19th has a particular significance for African Americans and is fondly referred to as Juneteenth. Whereas this term has been in use and the day celebrated by the African American community for over 150 years. Whereas on June 19th, 1865, Major General Gordon Granger and Union Army troops arrived in Galveston, Texas, to enforce the Emancipation Proclamation liberating the enslaved Black Americans in Texas. It marked the end of the military campaign for the emancipation. More than 10,000 Black soldiers were present in Galveston to enforce it. Whereas the ensuing Juneteenth celebration represents an opportunity to commemorate human freedom, reflect on the grievous and enduring legacy of slavery, and rededicate ourselves to the critical work of eradicating systemic racism and ensuring equal justice, dignity, rights, and the opportunity for all Americans. Whereas the residents of the Riviera Beach will participate in various activities to celebrate and honor Juneteenth's meaning and historical significance. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Ronnie Felder, over here, of the City of Riviera Beach, by the authority invested in me, do hereby proclaim June 19, 2023 as the Juneteenth Day of observance in the City of Riviera Beach. I urge all citizens to become more aware of the significance of this celebration in African American history and in the heritage of our nation and city. I call upon all residents to acknowledge and condemn the history of slavery, recognizing its ongoing impact, celebrate the emancipation of Black Americans, and commit to eradicating systemic racism and inequality. In witness whereof, I have hereto set my hand this 7th day of June in the year of our Lord 2023.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Board, any comments? Thank you for bringing the proclamation, and thank you for your work and what you've done with Juneteenth. Madam Clerk and colleagues, if we can take this out of order, we do have our state legislators here. I want to see if I can go ahead and have them go next, if it's okay with the pleasure of the board. Even though it is taking them out of order, I do want to bring them up next, so they do have another obligation they'd like to get to.
It's fine.
Board? Mayor, good. Madam Clerk?
Yes, next will be item 6E, which would be the legislative update.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am Bobby Powell Jr., State Senator representing Senate District 24, which is Palm Beach County, the northern parts of Palm Beach County. Good afternoon, Chairman Lawson, Mayor Felder, and all the members of the council. Can you hear me now? It is good seeing you all this afternoon. I'll take this out. And I am here with my colleague in the Florida House, State Representative Gervonta Edmonds, and we will give you a quick view from Tallahassee. And we're also here with our good friend and lobbyist, as well as Riviera Beach native, Mr. Sean Pittman.
Thank you. You want me to go? Hey, everybody. Okay, just a quick breakdown of how the legislature is made up. We have 120 elected officials in the House. 35 are Democrats, 84 are Republican. We actually have 1 vacant seat, and the Senate is about 40 senators, 12 Democrats, and 28 Republicans. Bills have to go through about 3 to 4 committees to get passed. It has to then go through the House or the Senate and then passed by both sides.
Thank you. And I'll try to forego a lot of this so we can get down to the nitty gritty. Of course, I'm the state senator. I am a native of Riviera Beach, but not only do I represent Riviera Beach in the Senate, I also represent all of the other areas, including Green Acres, West Palm Beach. I used to represent Jupiter and Tequesta, but now Palm Beach Gardens, the town of Palm Beach, and all those other areas. Representative Edmonds represents the East-West District, which is Riviera Beach, Royal Palm, West Palm. Representative Edmonds, your committees.
Well, I'm gonna try to slow it down a little bit. I've been told by all the staff there is a heat game, so talk as slow as possible. So I serve on 5 different committees, as you can see on the screen. They're very important committees. Most of the budget is, we have $117 billion in the state of Florida. That is the record-breaking budget. And you will see that most of our budget actually goes through the Health and Human Service Committee. So that's a very important committee that I love serving on, and just to see the transition of healthcare.
With that, I serve on a lot of the appropriations committees. I serve on the full appropriations, the appropriations subcommittee, or the appropriations committee on tourism, transportation, and economic development. That's the infrastructure appropriations committee. We also serve on the appropriations subcommittee, our appropriations committee on civil and criminal justice, as well as on the environment and natural resources, and 9 other committees. So I'm pretty busy while we're in Tallahassee. Remember, there are 40 senators, and I am one of 40, one of 12 Democrats, former Senate Democratic Leader Pro Tem, as well as chairman of the Florida Legislative Black Caucus. So I'm not that anymore, but I'm still pretty busy because some people have forgotten that I'm no longer the chair of that caucus, so they still give me all their issues. Bills that I was able to successfully pass this year, I'm not gonna read every bill on this particular slide, but I'll let you know that we were able to pass legal instruments. If you have questions about it, I know it's later on, I'm gonna skip those slides when we go through them, but we can go into detail if you have questions. Abandoned and historic African-American cemeteries was important because it was something that happened in the Tampa area, but you all know we here have the Storm of 28 site, which is a mass burial site. Disposal of property, that's really, really important. The reason that's important is because myself and Representative Edmonds had the opportunity to work alongside Assistant City Manager, Attorney Elizabeth McBride, as we found a very important issue within the state. That was FDOT has a lot of surplus land, and a lot of that is here in Riviera Beach, and they did not want to give it up, right? So we worked with FDOT with a lot of conversations and going back and forth, and we couldn't get a lot of movement through our own personal interactions. So we took it to the state, and I'll be truthful and tell you that Representative Edmonds worked with me, and this is the first time that the 2 African-American legislators from Palm Beach County have worked together to pass a bill. It's not easy to pass a bill in Tallahassee, I'll tell you that, but we were very much on it, bulldogged it through and got it done. And we had our quarterback, Ms. Attorney McBride, helping us to shepherd that through, and we got it done. So we'll have some good things happen for Riviera Beach. People of Iran was a Senate memorial, and then the Florida Museum of Black History was important that we passed that legislation this year, considering that Tallahassee was very partisan when it came to dealing with issues related to race, including the Stop Woke Act, the issues related to diversity, equity, inclusion, ESG, which is environment and social governance. We were able to get that done, and I was excited about that.
Thank you. And just a little tad bit that in Tallahassee, we're there for 60 days straight, and we see over 1,800 bills, and only about 300 of those bills actually pass both the House and the Senate. So when Senator Powell has over 5 bills passed, and I have 2 bills passed, that is a serious impact from Palm Beach County. I was able to pass the emergency opioid antagonist bill. Essentially, this bill will allow every single state college and university to place Narcan in their dormitory rooms to prevent overdose. The last thing we need is parents sending their children to colleges and their children coming back with the overdose crisis. And again, Senator Powell just talked about a disposal Department of Transportation property. Again, this allows FDOT to convey lands to governmental entities so they can therefore build affordable housing on that land.
Skip. All right, we talked about, well, this is pretrial detention. That allows, this is important for you all to know that if someone does a written threat, I added this to another member's bill, another senator's bill. A written threat can now be prosecuted as a dangerous crime. Previously, someone could do a written threat and it may not be taken seriously. If someone does a written threat to you, that individual is now put in line as a dangerous crime, including something like kidnapping, murder, and carjacking. So we have to take these threats seriously, especially when it comes to elected officials, people who work in, I don't know, like planning, like I do, and other public entities. Written threats are taken seriously. The abandoned cemeteries bill, as I indicated, this deals directly with cemeteries that are hidden or not found or abandoned or unknown. And when they find them, the opportunity to create a task force in the Florida Department of State Historic Resources Preservation Department to find these, to allot money for them, as well as creating an area in the University of South Florida to do further research and create a marker, as well as identifying potential ancestors. Disposal of property, this is, I wish we could have named it the Attorney McBride bill of making sure that we have affordable housing in the state of Florida. This is something that was important to Riviera Beach, but let's not take it lightly. This is important for every area of the state. This year, we passed the Live Local Act, which allows affordable housing and creates a $711 million fund to push affordable and workforce housing. This is the next level to that because it takes FDOT land that they have used for road projects that is now in surplus, and it allows them to convey it to municipalities. Convey means to give it to them for free, to use for a public purpose, and the public purpose is added affordable housing and workforce housing in there as the public purpose. And we did that for the entirety of the state because of an issue that we were having in Riviera Beach. And because it was identified by Attorney McBride as the city manager, who is working diligently to look for ways to increase affordable housing, along with our current city manager, Mr. Jonathan Evans, to make sure that we have that in tow. So we were excited to get that done. And the governor signed it, which was very, very important. We're a little concerned that he may veto some legislation, but this was important and we got it done this year. Legal instruments with another bill that dealt with notaries and liens, the Florida Museum of Black History. This is a task force that's created to look at the opportunity to create a Black History Museum in the state of Florida. This task force starts on July 1st, 2023, will end on July 1st, 2024. It will look at creating a museum that's self-sustaining and capable of generating its own income, but it also will make sure that it recognizes issues in Florida like the Ocoee Massacre and the Black history throughout the state of Florida. That was important. It passed unanimously in the House and the Senate. The people of Iran with a memorial dealt directly with the Masa Amini, who was taken into custody by morality police and was later killed. We stand with the people of Iran. That passed unanimously. Theft of nonprofits, that will come back again next year. So we'll see it again next year.
So our role as legislators are to go to Tallahassee, fight for good bills, stop the bad bills, and bring money home. And that's our job while we're there for 60 days. In this particular session, the House side, just specifically the House, Democrats in total, the 35 of them brought home $50 million in appropriations funded total. before the governor's veto. The Republicans brought home $1 billion. So it's a stark difference when you have $50 million to bring home and $1 billion on the other side. But me personally, I was able to bring home $7 million. A lot of the projects you see on the screen have and will affect Riviera Beach, especially the Riviera Beach Utility Special District 3 critical lift station. I've already talked about the 2 bills that I passed, but also that was important to me is getting the Begonia Park repavement and also the financial capacities counseling, which is RISE. It is a housing project that brings together housing, mental health, food and healthcare services all wrapped up in one. So I was very honored to bring home over $7 million as a freshman.
So the appropriations process is a little bit more critical for me. When it comes to it, as I indicated earlier, I have Green Acres, I have Lake Worth, I have Lantana, parts of Lantana. I've got West Palm Beach, which sucks up a lot of energy. I've got Riviera Beach, I've got Mangonia Park. And with that, I deal with the representatives from that area on those areas. But more importantly, I deal with the person who not only helps me identify those issues, that's Mr. Sean Pittman. And then I've got Diane, who's here, my Diane Andre Esquire, who gets right into it. I'll let Attorney Pittman talk about the projects that we're able to get done for Riviera Beach.
Thank you, and I know our time's short. Just first of all, our firm appreciates the opportunity to be able to work for you all. It's been a long time, and we've done a lot of good work, not alone, but because of you. Most people don't know that these folks come up to Tallahassee, and they don't come to play around. They come to Tallahassee to take the issues directly to other elected officials, and the work they do is masterful up there. They don't go to meet with these guys because they know these guys. They go to meet with speakers and presidents and chairmen of committees and budget staff, governor's staff, which is really important to getting it done. Doesn't get done without them doing that. So thank you all for being willing to come and coming to work. Really appreciate that. This year we'll bring home $1.6 million. We'll come back and talk about it because the governor hasn't signed it yet. And when he signs the budget and he signs over that money, we'll come back with some checks. He likes to get fake checks and big checks. And so we'll come back with that. But your efforts on the lift station and your efforts for the command center, the mobile command center, excellent. Thank you. Congratulations on that. I also want to say these two guys work well together. I haven't seen in the years that I've been representing you, two people that work together so well. They work together very well, and it means a lot for Riviera Beach. I know you represent other places, but I can tell you when Riviera Beach issues come up, they stand up tall, and I can't do what I do without them. Last thing, couple issues you need to be aware of, and we'll come back and talk about them once the governor signs everything, but there are a couple bills out there that now have real ramifications for ordinances and comprehensive plans, right? You can not only be sued now, but they can demand attorney's fees if they win, right? So they're real, they're real. Now, as you think about the ordinances you set and the provisions in comprehensive plans, you really need to keep in mind that now the legislature has passed some new rules that will govern and will stand up in court. All right, we need to be aware of that. There's one more I wanted to make sure that we mentioned today, and I know we'll be back to do something more comprehensive when time permits. Oh, how could I forget this one? The public construction that says that it prohibits local governments from using local preferences during procurement process for any public works project. That is already signed by the governor. So we got a lot to, Mr. Manager, we got a lot, and Ms. Jacobs, Ms. McBride, Attorney McBride, we got a lot to educate ourselves on so that we can protect ourselves and limit the exposure that we have. So again, thank you all for the opportunity to work for Riviera Beach and to work for this community, and love these guys right here. And we look forward to one of those plastic checks with their signatures coming back after the budget, after the governor signs the budget. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Attorney Pittman, State Senator Powell, Representative Edmonds. Did you have some additional comments?
I'll just say this, be prepared. Rep. Edmonds said we had the $50 million for the members of the House. I'll tell you, in the Senate, I was able to get $27 million in that budget working with my team. And I'll also tell you all this, a few things to be prepared for. I talked about this a little bit earlier with one of the councilwomen. Form 6, that's been something that has been coming up over and over again. If you are not aware, Councilman McCoy called me about this a lot of times, okay? And those who are not aware, me and McCoy worked together when I first got into the House. So conspicuous by his absence, I do recognize that he called me a lot. Came out of office when he was in Tallahassee a lot. Form 6 will require you to put all of your bank account information, your net worth, any debt that you have, any loans that you have. It's a huge change from what you're used to doing with Form 1. State representatives and state senators, as well as county commissioners, have previously had to do this. I think it was relative because we serve larger areas. Now anyone from any town that's elected in public office will have to disclose everything. And it is an electronic disclosure, so it will be easy for people to look up. So just be aware of that. Local ordinances, Attorney Pittman talked about that. And also, I'll just tell you, if you have any questions, we can go into detail about major issues at some point. You can reach me and my staff at 561-650-6880. Attorney Diane Andre is here in the back. Diane, wave your hand. And Malcolm Summons is up front. And that's my team.
And again, council, thank you so much for having us here. I'm just going to close out with a good bill and a bad bill. Really quick, all residents should know if you own a home underneath $500,000, there's a program called My Safe Florida Homes. You can apply for up to $10,000 grant to fix up your roof, your windows, your garage. So it's a good way to take advantage and make sure you can get repairs and become hurricane mitigated. Bad bill, concealed carry pass. I call it untrained carry. Essentially those, previously you would have to take a concealed carry course to carry a gun or a weapon on you. Now you don't need to take any type of course. You don't need any training. You can just have it on you. So there will be people concealing carry. Okay. And there will be some residents with concealing carry. So make sure you're aware of that. And there will have some unintended consequences. And just to give you my staff information, we are located right off of 45th Street. Feel free to call our office anytime or just show up. We have an open door policy. Any issue you may need, we regulate all the state agencies in Florida. So if you have issues with DCL or any type of healthcare issues, please feel free to reach out to us. And again, council, thank you again for your time.
Colleagues, any questions? State Senator Powell, Representative Edmonds, Attorney Pittman, thank you. Go ahead.
Second,
Madam Pro Temp, go ahead.
I wanted Evans, I'm sorry, Edmonds to repeat the,
My Safe Florida Homes.
Yes.
That's everybody want to know about that program.
Yes.
My Safe Florida Homes. It's easier to Google it. It'll come up under the CFO's office. And again, it's a up to $10,000 grant to fix up your home. Another program to be aware of, Hometown Heroes. It'll allow you to put $50,000 towards homestead exemption. So make sure you take advantage of that program as well.
And Representative Edmonds, State Senator Powell, looking forward to seeing you guys. We want to try to give these updates possibly quarterly, if we can kind of see you come again. Bring some more big checks with you. Representative Edmonds, we've seen you here before, so thank you. And State Senator, thank you for the work that you've done for this community, which you're homegrown from. So gentlemen, you guys done amazing work this session. Hopefully nothing is vetoed, and we can see you again soon with additional updates. Attorney Pittman, it's always a pleasure. Gentlemen, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Yes, we're on to item 6B, proclamation declaring the week of June 5th through the 9th, 2023 as Code Enforcement Officer Appreciation Week. This proclamation will be read by Mr. Clarence Sermons.
Welcome, Mr. Sermons.
Thank you. Good evening. And for the record, Clarence Sermons, Director of Development Services for the City of Riviera Beach. I am excited and very proud to be able to read this proclamation about Code Compliance Week 2023. And before I read it, to say a couple of things about code compliance, it is often a thankless job. Most people are not enthused about uninvited guests coming to their property, telling them what they should or should not be doing on their own property. Code compliance can also often be a discouraging job. A code officer may work with the property because their yard is full of dirt, no grass, and encourage them, push them, pressure them to put sod and grass out and take them in front of the special magistrate, threaten them with fees, and it finally gets done and they add sod and the yard looks beautiful, but the tenant refuses to water the grass and it dies, and then you end up right back at square one. But code compliance can also be a very rewarding job because little by little, with their efforts, we see the image and the health and safety aspects of our community improve. And over the past year or so, just to say some things about our code compliance operation here at the City of Riviera Beach, over the past year or more, they've worked to increase their impacts on our community. They have increased the levels of service to our community here in Riviera Beach. And some examples include expanding their services to include weekends to make sure we're monitoring activity and activities on properties, excuse me, on the weekends. They've enacted same-day response to complaints that they receive from the community to take a look at what some may perceive as code compliance violations. The city has utilized grant funding to double the amount of staff that we have in the field, monitoring our properties and ensuring we get as much compliance as possible. We have initiated daily sweeps of the zones across the city just to identify some of the most common violations, such as trash off schedule, illegal dumping, and derelict vehicles. And we've done that over the past 3 months, and staff has seen a reduction in the instances of those types of violations taking place. So it's making a difference. They have partnered with police, fire, and the buildings divisions to conduct a sweep of all convenience stores in the cities, which have been the source of a lot of complaints from community members. And they've conducted sweeps of every one of those stores, and over 50 notices of violations were issued as a part of that campaign. Over the past 12 months, over 985 notices of violation have been issued to properties across the city. Over 431 cases have been presented to the code compliance special magistrate judge, and many of those properties have been brought into compliance due to the efforts of our code compliance team here at the City of Riviera Beach. So before I read the proclamation, I would like to ask the code compliance staff to please come up. Please come up. I know you guys look good in your matching uniforms. You must be seen. They need to see you. Come on up. Whereas code enforcement officers provide for the safety, health, and welfare of the citizens of this community through the enforcement of building, zoning, housing, fire safety, environmental, and other codes and ordinances. And whereas code enforcement officers are responsible for improving the neighborhood and quality of lives of residents in the community. And whereas every day, assisted by support and program staff, they attempt to provide quality customer service to the public for the betterment of the community. And whereas too many times their efforts go unnoticed even after code compliance has been accomplished, and whereas code enforcement officers are dedicated, well-trained, and highly responsible individuals who take their job seriously and are proud of the department and the local government in which they serve, and whereas the Florida Association of Code Enforcement has declared the first week of June to be set aside by the local government to honor and recognize their code enforcement officers, now therefore, through the authority vested in me by the Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Florida, I do hereby proclaim the week of June 5th through 9th, 2023 as Code Compliance Appreciation Week in the City of Riviera Beach, Florida, in accordance with the statewide observation of the same, and encourage citizens of Riviera Beach to join this council in expressing appreciation for the dedication and outstanding service provided by the individuals who serve our code enforcement officers. Duly proclaimed and adopted in regular session the 7th day of June, AD 2023. Thank you to our code compliance staff.
Oh. one.
Over the video.
All in the camera. Thank you, Mr. Sermons. Check, check. Thank you, Mr. Sermons. Council, comments? Mr. Sermons and code officers, thank you, every one of you guys, for the work you've done for our community and continue to do for our community. You guys get the short end of the stick and get a rap for causing a lot of the problems, but you're really trying to fix a lot of the issues in our community. So thank you for continuing to be great officers of our city and stewards of everything that we do. So thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Madam Clerk?
Yes, we do have one public comment card.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Cindy March.
Thank you, Ms. March.
Yes.
Welcome to the podium, Ms. March.
Good evening, everyone. I'm so glad to see the implement for code enforcement, but I would love to see an implementation of rental property. Before they can rent that property, I still feel like a full inspection should be done before you rent to your tenant, because once the tenant get in there, they got to fight through the courts to get something done. Like where I moved from, that whole property, it's all right not to have grass or whatever. I don't care about the outside. My main concern when I have to lay my head down or when I have to go take a shower, I don't have water pressure. I don't have, I have dirty water, might not be pertaining to the landlord. And then the back side of that property, I called code enforcement when I was going through my ordeal. No one ever got back with me. They took the notes they say they took, but that big piece of property back there, and this is a fire hazard. It's one way in that property and one way out. And I had 5 nieces and nephews staying in that property. What if a fire break out and everybody can't get out the front door? So we really need to be adamant about what we're going to inspect and do our due diligence and be very specific to the landlord. Look, this is the money you getting, you got to come up to code. It's not that we nitpicking with you all, but the tenant deserves better. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for comments, Ms. March. And to that point, Ms. March, I did see a lot of new faces with code compliance, so hopefully that we will be addressing a lot of the concerns, because there's a lot of new faces in that department and a lot from this community, so we'll definitely make sure that we continue to address that. Thank you, Ms. March. Madam Clerk?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we're on to 6A, a presentation by Clinton Forbes, Executive Director, and Yash Nigel, Transit Planner of Palm Tran Public Transportation, to present the Palm Beach Trans Bus Shelter Improvement Program.
Welcome, Mr. Forbes. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Mr.
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank
Thank you,
you, Mr. Mayor, council members, Mr. Manager. Good evening. Clinton Forbes, the Executive Director of Palm Tran. We have a brief presentation we'd like to share with you. And this presentation really is about the 3 C's, communication, collaboration, and cooperation. And so we'll be asking for those things today from you. And so our agenda, I guess I'll advance this, it includes an overview of our system, some major projects, some of the future, what we look like in the future as a transit agency. And really what we want to discuss is our bus stop expansion and replacement project. And so we'll talk to you about that. Just to start, I'd like to thank the mayor and your council. We actually held, one of Palm Tran's core values, one of its 6 core values is recognition. And we were able to recognize our employees. We have 648 employees at Palm Tran, and we did it at this venue, and it was a great event. And so we recognized employees for their doing a job well done, for their tenure, and we also had your mayor help us with that recognition that night. So thank you, and of course, your attorney, Don Nguyen, was also present. So we wanted to share that with you. Also like to point out that the Palm Tran has a Palm Tran Service Board. It's a board that the Board of County Commissioners has delegated the responsibility of service changes to. And one of your very own serve as a member of that board, Councilwoman Miller Anderson, and she serves in the capacity of elected municipal official. And so we really appreciate, she's added a lot of value to that board, and we appreciate your participation and service. Just briefly on our overview, this is your transit system in Palm Beach County. We serve almost every corner of Palm Beach County. As you know, Palm Beach County is one of the largest counties geographically in the eastern United States. Over 2,000 square miles, and Palm Tran almost serves every corner. We have 31 bus routes, 3 modes. You see the big fixed route bus, that's a 40-foot bus. Paratransit service, which is an important service to our elderly and disabled. And mobility on demand, a new service that we're introducing in this community. And it started in the Glades region, and we'll talk to you about how we might be expanding that on the eastern part of Palm Beach County. So we have more than 7 million riders per year. And that's essentially, overview of our organization. Here are some of our capital. Of course, we do our business with this asset, this rolling asset, a fixed route bus. On the right, you can see kind of a block-shaped bus. That was our early rendition of the bus. And one of the things we changed, and we had to make sure that we attract, new customers. We made our bus a little sexier, and it has curves. And so, as you can see on the right, that's our latest model diesel bus. We've introduced, I call it a smart bus. We have an infotainment system in every one of our fixed route buses, which provides real-time information on next stop, important PSA information, advertisement, but it's also a security awareness feature that's really made an impact on incidents on our system. Essentially, just like when you walk in Walmart or a convenience store, you'll have that camera pointing at you and you'll see yourself as you walk in. These cameras, these screens, and monitors actually provides that same type of security awareness. It flips and shows the customers in the bus. So it just reminds you that we're recording your picture while you ride our bus. And it really has reduced incidents. One of the significant projects we implemented in 21 was our state-of-the-art fare collection system. This is, state-of-the-art innovation. I described there's a lot of components and complexities to this new fare collection system, but I describe it very simply as we don't want you to think about what you need in terms of fare media or money to ride the bus. We want you to be able to approach the bus and you pay your fare with anything on your person. So if you have a credit card, if you have cash, if you have a smartphone, a wearable, we accept all media. And so all you have to do is really approach the bus and you'll be able to pay your fare. And that's the system we designed and implemented recently on our buses. Of course, we are committed to reducing the carbon footprint, and we'll be introducing zero emission buses next year, where we are electrifying our fleet. Our goal is to introduce 25% zero emission buses by 2032. We've already begun talking to the bus builders for electrification, and we'll order this year and hopefully have delivery next year. Mobility on demand, this is microtransit. We introduced this service in the Glades region. What this is essentially is door-to-door transportation for everyone in that community. And it has been a huge success, and it's something that we are looking at in other areas, including Riviera Beach, to complement our fixed route system. This service in the Glades, you hail the bus similar to Uber and Lyft using an app. Just like Uber and Lyft, you can actually see the bus arriving to your destination, to your origination point, and you can see your travels to your destination. So it has been a huge success in the Glades region, and we're looking to expand it. This is better than Uber and Lyft because it's more cost effective. It's actually a shared ride. And so we organize the demand so that it's just not a one person, a one seat ride on this vehicle. We essentially pick up 4 to 5 people on a trip. So it's a very efficient service. Just really quickly on our future, we call it the Route Performance Maximization 2.0. It's a 3-pronged approach to our future, which I can put in 3 buckets: short-term, mid-term, and long-term projects. Short-term, and when I say short-term, I mean like now. We're going to implement these things now, and that's implementing and partnering with Uber and Lyft and taxis to provide first, last mile connections to our fixed route. Often the obstacle to using public transit is, it's quite a distance to walk to that bus stop. And so we hope to close that gap, eliminate that obstacle of that first and last mile, working with partners like Uber and Lyft. Mobility on demand, we talked about that. Where else on the eastern part of the county can we implement this and be successful? And one part of the county that we're looking at is Riviera Beach. And so we'll share that with you. And of course, our long-term vision. I think you always have to have that stretch goal. And this is funding constrained, but what would light rail look like in our community? What would bus rapid transit look like in our community? What would, frequency like New York of 10 to 15 minutes of a bus arriving to a bus stop look like? And so that is a stretch goal that we are working with the Transportation Planning Agency to continue to work at and implement in the future. Here's the network, some of the bus services in your community. Quite a few routes traverse this community. And what we are I talked about mobility on demand and first and last mile. We are currently studying, and we'll talk to you more about this in a separate meeting, a first and last mile pilot project in Riviera Beach. And so, as you can see that blob up there, which we consider like the service area or the zone. And we will modify the fixed route service, which is underperforming in that particular sector of Riviera Beach, and create a TNC pilot. And essentially how that works is the customer will pay $2. We'll subsidize $7 to $10 of that trip within that zone. And anything beyond that, the customer pays the freight, right? And so that's how it's worked in other communities. And it really creates increased mobility for a community. And so we're looking to talk to you more about that project. And we'll go into bus shelters. We're almost done with our presentation. I'm going to call up Yash Nagal, our Director of Transit Planning. But before I do that, Mayor, I want to thank you for meeting with us in advance on this project and supporting us. We're looking forward to working with you and the council members. The first part of this, we have grant funding to implement and replace new shelters in your community. So there'll be no cost initially to Riviera Beach, but bus shelters are critically important for people who use the system, right? Especially with the weather, inclement weather here in South Florida. So with that, I would like to introduce Mr. Nagal.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. I'm not that tall. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to come talk to you. I'm going to briefly go over the bus shelter project, bus stop improvements.
If you could, Mr. Nagal, just state your name for the record, please.
Oh, yes. My name is Yash Nagal. I'm the Director of Transit Planning at Palm Tran. Absolutely. So we began our process back in 2019. We currently do have an existing bus shelter contract that's based off an advertising model. And what we've been looking at is switching that model out so we can utilize our grant funding a little more. One thing with the advertising model is that you certain times get placement of a shelter where it benefits the advertising community, not the transit agency. We want to have a model that we can put out these bus shelters based on grant funding in locations that we know a shelter is needed. So high ridership locations, things like that. So with that, we redeveloped the strategy this year. Soon we hope to advertise an RFP with some of the modifications. What we've done is split that contract into two parts. So there's one part where we can buy these amenities, bus shelters, benches, things like that. And then there's one part where we can advertise on these amenities. So we still want to make revenue that can help us maintain these amenities throughout the community. On the left side, what you see is really what we call a semi-seat. These are really helpful in tight right-of-way situations. We have a number of these throughout Riviera Beach. And then on the right side, you see is the sort of the infrastructure that we have today in place. So we have 174 bus stops. We have shelters, benches, all of that inside the city. There are a lot of shelters that your staff has been able to help us with, meaning the development process. We've seen some of them come in through in the last few years too. So it's a very collaborative effort, and we want to definitely continue that process as we go along. So on the left side here is the shelter that we have today. On the right side is what we want to go towards, something more sleek, something that's going to look more modern. Obviously, that's not the exact design that we're going to have because we haven't picked a vendor yet. We want to leave some room for different branding options because we realize that different cities want to have their logos, they want to have their colors. So there will be some room for a little bit of modification there. Some of the other amenities that will be a part of this package would be things like having a real-time screen on the bus stop. This allows passengers to see when their next bus is going to be. If there's information that we want to push out to the customer, these are really helpful for that because they're digital. Don't know what happened. All right, we're back. We talked about the semi-seats earlier, things that come with the shelters, things like bike racks. One of the most important things that we also looked at was solar lighting. This is something that helps both the passenger in terms of security because it has lighting outside at the bus stop, and our bus operators because they're able to see people at the bus stop at night. So it's really, it becomes easier for them to identify where to stop, where not to stop. And then something we also looked at was the concept of shaded seating. So this is kind of a hybrid of a semi-seat and a shelter. So tight right away, you might not be able to install a shelter, but you still have something where passenger can sit down and still has some shade. We're also exploring the idea of replacing our top blades. So the sign, the actual bus stop sign that we have, we want to introduce a QR code in there. We realized that during COVID, a lot of people have understood how to utilize technology, how to utilize QR codes. The idea here is that we want to minimize the number of steps that a passenger takes when they're inquiring about their ride. So something that you can point at and it takes you to a landing page that's going to give you all the information about the bus stop, when it's arriving, what route it's going to be, things like that. And then finally, this is a rendering of what we want our future to look like. Oh.
Walter, future's not looking very bright.
There's the future. So, So that was just basically the rendering of what we want our future to look like. The amenities that you see on the screen are what we're working towards. That was kind of the last slide.
So we can see it up here, and I believe they can still see it at home. So you guys.
Well, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Mayor, and council members, thank you for your time. Again, this was just an informational presentation and really a call for cooperation and collaboration with your team as we begin this really major project in this community. So thank you again. Of course, we have Deborah Posey Blocker, who's our government affairs leader, is also here and is a part of our team. And so we're excited to work with you in implementing this program. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Councilwoman Botel, go ahead.
Thank you. I learned today at a League of Cities luncheon meeting that on June 13th, Tuesday at 4 o'clock, the Board of County Commissioners is going to be considering the budget for Palm Tran. Is there anything that you think we should be aware of if we come to speak at that meeting on behalf of more funding, for example? Are there things that you're looking for local support?
Well, thank you for that question, Councilwoman. So June 13th is the initial board workshop, and it's typically not a opportunity for public comment. It's at the mayor's discretion, and people who want to speak, he's typically allowed them to speak. It won't just be Palm Trans budget, it'll be the overall county budget, which includes more than 30 departments. But I will tell you that there has been discussion about cutting Palm Trans budget and making it more efficient. We are doing what we can within our budget to make our system more efficient. Some of the information that I showed you earlier, where we are moving towards a transit network company, model where first and last mile. Some of the fixed route services will be either majorly modified or eliminated. And so that is of concern with some in our community, including our Palm Trans Service Board. That would be the reference if you would like to, have a conversation with the board about the importance of, public transit in this community. So we will potentially have a more in-depth discussion if we're asked questions about our services.
Okay, I hope to be there, and I hope prior to that meeting, I have an opportunity to ride some of the buses, because I have to admit I've not done that, and I think it's more important if somebody's going to get up and speak on behalf of something that you have the experience. So therefore, the second thing I want to mention is that somebody said today, if you're not standing up at a bus stop, the bus driver will pass you by. And the suggestion was made that perhaps a sign could be placed somewhere near the proximity of the shelter saying, please stand if you want to get on this next bus. Apparently it happened to a couple of people at the meeting, so I don't know if that's something that can be rectified or not, but I make that suggestion.
Thank you for mentioning that. Thank you for saying you're going to ride as well. And I'll encourage everyone in the room to ride. If you are a resident, if you're a native here, and this organization has been in this community for over 50 years, and you think about iconic places in Palm Beach County that you visited, and you see a fixed route bus pass you by, and you've been in this community for more than 50 years and hadn't ridden it, shame on you. You need to get on the bus and at least, have that experience. And because it is a part of our community. It's an integral part of our community. That person that did not stand, they don't have to stand. And we are continually retraining our operators that when a bus approaches the stop, they are, when a person is at a stop, they are to stop. Even if they're looking at their mobile phone and not paying attention, they are to stop. Because we have to comply with the American Disabilities Act of 1990. That person could be hearing impaired or sight impaired. And so we have to stop. And so if you see that, please call our office and we will follow up with it. But that is a continuing training point with our operators. But thank you for mentioning it.
Thank you. I hope I get a senior discount.
Yes.
Thank you, Councilwoman Botel.
Mr. Chair,
Councilwoman Miller Anderson, go ahead.
I want to thank you all for coming tonight to do the presentation. And Dr. Botel, you did lead into something that I was going to talk to the board about this evening very briefly. Well, one of the things is to see if Mr. Forbes and his team can come to the League of Cities and possibly speak during the, I think we said July meeting, possibly. That way I could give you all a little notice. And then also would be sending out some information about that June 13th meeting to see if, we could get people to come out.
Thank you,
all.
Councilwoman Miller Anderson. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Forbes. Look forward to working with you and your team.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Mr. Forbes did have just two quick questions. Working with possible law enforcement, what we've noticed is that a lot of the benches, the stops have been sleeping quarters for individuals. How can we address that? Possibly seating only, limited the access. How can we work with law enforcement, the city, to make sure that we can make it more just sitting for the bus stops and an option of not just somewhere for people to sleep?
Wow, what a challenging issue. It's not transit's responsibility to solve the homeless issue, but it is a part of, what we have to address with our partners. And it is a challenging issue as we, work with the sheriff's office and local law enforcement to have, them move along. They move along to another bus shelter and or come back. And so we have been working really closely with our community services department, the HOT team, because it's not telling them to move, it's giving them alternatives and talking with them and trying to get them housing. And we have some great stories of success in doing that. But I'll tell you, Mayor, we'll continue to work with you and your team on that, but it is an extreme challenge.
Well, I do appreciate the vote of confidence, not the mayor yet, but I'm gonna leave that with
Mr. Chair.
with my mayor down there.
I am so.
But to that point, I appreciate that because it is a difficult thing that we're trying to address. The homeless population is something that we're focused on. So trying to find avenues and options and working as a team together. The second concern is the vandalism of a lot of the stops. Will Palm Trend be continuing the upkeep of the vandalism at a lot of these bus stops and the graffiti that's being done in these locations? Because we want to make sure that we can work together as a cohesive unit, just keep our community as beautiful as possible.
Yes, we have an awesome minority vendor that has great follow-up, and we react to that quickly because we recognize, I look at our bus stop infrastructure as, I call it street furniture, because really, even motorists are passing by it and they're looking at it and it's representative of your community.
Yep.
And so we act quickly on that, and we'll continue to work with you if you have any blight or vandalism to any of our bus stops. One of the key things in this RFP will be a very robust maintenance plan for our shelters.
Maintenance is going to be the biggest concern, one of our major concerns. Outdated advertisement, the vandalism, the graffiti, the smell on some of them. Just making sure that we've continued to upkeep that. So that'd be something that we want to definitely look forward to.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
There we go. Director Forbes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Director Forbes, Director Nagal, thank you guys for coming tonight and speaking to our city. We look forward to continue to build this relationship. So, colleagues, any additional questions? Mr. Evans, go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Please.
Certainly, thank you for being here this evening. In a conversation that the mayor and I had at our Memorial Day service that we had here in the city, one of the things that came up out of all the issues that veterans deal with is transportation. And the one thing that the VA asked for is, and actually communicated that other counties provide this service to veterans for free. And so I actually have an email that I'm about to hit send that I just added you to, because I've been in conversations with the assistant county administrator to see what we can do to look to that, address that, because we have, the VA hospital here in our community. It's something that is, out of all the issues that they could have spoken to the mayor and I about, that was the major issue. And they have veterans coming here for services, but then there may be an issue with regards to transportation back into, and then we don't have some of the social service networks that other places have. So that transportation resource is certainly something very important. So if there's anything that we can do on our side to advocate for that, I know Martin County brings their folks here. And so we want to be able to say, hey, we, just like other communities, have this service that's provided to our veterans. So I'd love to have a more robust conversation with you about it.
And if I may, Mr. Chair,
Please.
Mr. Manager, thank
Please go
you
ahead.
for that. I did see the communication with Mr. Montlaren. I actually started my transit career in Miami-Dade County, and I was a part of that initiative where we introduced what we call the Patriot Passport to veterans, and it allows veterans to ride free. That was a part of essentially a deal, to pass a dedicated source of funding for transportation. But we know the need is there, and we're looking forward to that conversation.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Evans. Thank you, Director Forbes.
Thank you.
We appreciate the time. Thank you. Before we move on to our regular agenda ordinances, I just wanted to remind the audience, please silence your phones. If you do have public comment cards, turn them in now. We will be taking public comments starting at 7:30. And any background talk, it does carry up to the board, so please just keep it to a minimum. Madam Clerk?
Yes, item 8A, ordinance on second and final reading. Ordinance number 4225, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, amending the city's adopted comprehensive plan to establish the property rights element, to adopt a new property rights element, and amending all elements as necessary in order to provide consistency with current statutory requirements per section 16.3, 177 Florida statutes, providing for conflict and severability and providing for an effective date. Mr. Chair, this ordinance was properly advertised, and we do have public comment cards on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards are now closed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Approve ordinance number 4225.
Second is properly motioned and seconded. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, if I can have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, to make this presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Welcome, Mr. Sermons. You may go ahead.
Sure. Good evening.
Good evening.
For the record, I'm Deirdre Jacobs, the Assistant City Manager here with the City of Riviera Beach. This item deals with the second reading of the property rights element of the comprehensive plan. It came before you several months ago, and the primary purpose of this particular element to be incorporated into our comprehensive plan is to make sure that we identify property rights that shall be considered when we make our our local decision-making with regards to zoning and land use issues. What it does is it primarily ensures that the government takes into consideration all of those rights that belong to property owners, and that we don't take for granted or use excessive oversight in terms of not allowing property owners to be able to have the use of their property in a way that it might receive some type of negative impact because of our zoning and other restrictive regulations.
And again, for the record, Clarence Sermons, Director of Development Services. I'll add that after first reading, this proposed amendment to our comprehensive plan was, as required by statute, transmitted to the state for review and approval before we could bring it back. In addition to state agencies, it was also reviewed by local and regional entities to ensure that they didn't have any issues with our proposed comprehensive plan amendment, even though this particular amendment is required by the state. And just one point of clarification, your backup material includes the letters of no objection from those entities that were required to review this. We were instructed by the state to submit this along with the other amendment that was pending at the same time that we transmitted this one. So you will see in those letters of no objection references to another project related to a future land use map at the golf course. However, nothing in approving this ordinance will affect that separate land use decision. So the item before you is only related to amending our comp plan to add the property rights element, and just a small point of clarification. Otherwise, that concludes the staff presentation on this item.
Thank you, Ms. Sermons. Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Madam Clerk, public comments, please.
Yes, Mr. Fane Lozman.
Fane Lozman, 5101 North Ocean Drive. Governor DeSantis signed House Bill 59 on June 29th, 2021. The four of you voted on first reading in December of 2022. A year and a half went by before you did the first reading. In the meantime, you violated the law. You could not vote on any comp plan amendment until the Private Property Bill of Rights was adopted. You didn't do that. You had a comp plan amendment in the summer of 2022, and you went right ahead. At the end of the day, the five of you raised your right hand, the four of you, McCoy's not here, raised your right hand to uphold the laws of the state of Florida. Laws of the state of Florida signed by Governor DeSantis, now in statute, that you must not adopt any comp plan amendment until the Private Property Bill of Rights was put into the city's comprehensive plan. You didn't do that. You broke the law. Is there a penalty for that? Criminal penalty? No. But ethically, you should do what you swore to do. Uphold your oath of office. Follow the laws of the state of Florida. You did not do that. Now, why didn't you do that? Who can we blame? Well, first of all, really, you should know what the law, you should have read it before when it was passed. You can blame Sermons, you can blame your city manager, but somebody needs to be held accountable for that because you broke the law relative to that. Now let's step back. How did this impact me? I am the only property owner, according to Martin Fence, in 40 years that has been denied a boundary fence. I have a dangerous piece of property. Young children run around in shallow water that drops off to 15 feet. And I have been fighting for years to get a fence like everybody else. The Private Property Bill of Rights gives me the right to keep people off my property with a fence. I still don't have a fence. Okay, I have a problem with the police department. Police department went out there and saw these children running around, and they refused to tell the mother they can't go there. Trespass them from going on this dangerous property. They wouldn't do it. Okay, so we have, and then Major Walker says, hey, why don't you have a fence? That's how you keep these kids off your property. I go, yeah, catch 22, because Botel, we have emails from her back in 2019, said she didn't want a fence on the property. Lady March Goldwire got fired after she gave us a fence permit. The fence was built with a permit, and it was inspected, and it passed an inspection. At a later date, they said, oh, it didn't have the zoning to have the fence put up. The bottom line is that right now, you have a city manager, you have a development director who are refusing to follow the Private Property Bill of Rights and say, hey, go ahead and put up your fence. What does that mean? More litigation. We're in state court now, litigating over a fence. I have over $100,000 legal bill on the fence that ultimately.
Thank you for your comments, Mr. Lozman. Comments from the board?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Councilman Botel, go ahead.
I just want to be clear about the language in this proposed property rights element. I think it says the purpose, let me make sure I get this right. The city shall consider property rights during local decision-making processes. That doesn't mandate that we give somebody something just because they want it, does it, Mr. Sermons?
No, I believe we understand the intention to be making sure local governments are mindful of these things, but local governments do still have zoning authority.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Botel. Colleagues?
Yes, I need to ask a
Pro
question.
Temp, go ahead.
I need to ask a question in regards to the language, and there was some concern about the Lone Pine Golf Course. Could you speak to how that affects or not affects that property?
So,
Go ahead, Ms. Jacobs.
so we believe what occurred with the Lone Pine project was that because that particular application was taken to the state along with the property rights amendment, that they were co-joined only because of them being submitted at the same time. So all of the responses that we received from the state and any other agencies, they were related to both projects, but that didn't technically mean that the projects were intertwined in any way. This particular property rights amendment has to do with the city in general.
Thank you, Madam Pro Temp.
There's
Thank you, Ms.
other,
Jacobs.
I'm sorry, Mr. Lawson, there's one point of clarification that I
Go ahead, Ms.
think
Jacobs.
that I believe we need to make. It is our understanding that there were never any major amendments made to the city's comp plan before this law was put into place.
Thank you, Ms. Jacobs. Any other comments? Madam Clerk?
Yes, Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier?
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson?
Yes.
That vote passes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Being that it's 7:23, I'm going to go ahead and go forward with public comments. How many public comments do we have, Madam Clerk?
Currently, we have 7.
Okay, we'll get started and close them at 7:30.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Public comment shall begin at 7:30 unless there's no further business of the City Council, which in the event it shall begin sooner. In addition, if an item is being considered at 7:30, then the comments from the public shall begin immediately after the item has been concluded. Please be reminded the City Council Board has adopted rules of decorum governing public comment conduct during official meetings, which has been posted at the front desk. In an effort to preserve order, if any of the rules are not adhered to, City Council Chairperson may have any disruptive speaker or attendee removed from the podium, from the meeting, or from the building if necessary. Please govern yourselves accordingly. Madam Clerk, we'll go ahead and go with public comments, and we will close them at 7:30.
Yes, sir. The first one is going to be Ms. Gina Levesque, followed by Mr. Bill Walatich.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome, Ms. Gina. You have 3 minutes. Thank you.
Good afternoon, good evening. My name is Gina Levesque. I am the Intake and Compliance Manager for the Palm Beach County Commission on Ethics. I'm here today to talk to you about the Commission on Ethics and our goal to enhance the public's trust in government. In 2010, the Commission on Ethics was created and established as a result of a grand jury recommendation from a 2009 hearing. I've been with the office since inception, and as of tomorrow, it'll be 13 years. We were created to provide oversight, transparency, and accountability for over 12,000 elected officials, employees, and advisory board members throughout the county. We also have jurisdiction over lobbyists, principals, and employers of lobbyists and vendors. Our commission is independent of any county or municipal government, and our commission is made up of 5 members that are appointed by groups throughout the community. As you're aware, county government and every municipality within the county is under our jurisdiction and subject to the ethics ordinances. The Code of Ethics is a 12-page document and creates a backstop to enhance public trust by ensuring that public officials and employees conduct themselves independently and impartially and do not use their offices for private gain. The key to a successful ethics program is education and prevention. We are not a gotcha organization. We strive to teach and help people maneuver the ethics ordinances so that they do not fail. Ongoing training, advisory opinions, and the establishment of a culture of ethics is our goal. The ethics programs are simply designed to further the public's trust in government. The availability of our staff to train and answer questions through our advisory opinions may also prevent ethical misconduct from becoming criminal misconduct. While the Commission has statutory authority as a quasi-judicial code enforcement board to issue letters of reprimand, letters of recommendation, and even fines of up to $500 per violation, our goal is to educate those under our jurisdiction to prevent violations before they occur. All of our advisory opinions, gift forms, voting conflict forms, and outside employment forms, as well as complaints, are on our website under our databases tab. In closing, you're all doing great work here. And in doing so, please remember your solemn duty to consider the ethics of your actions. Ask first, act later is our motto. If anyone would like to speak with someone in our office, we're here to help. Please call us at 355-1915. Or you can reach us at palmbeachcountyethics.com.
Thank you so much for your comments, ma'am.
8 seconds.
Perfect timing.
Take them all.
So if anyone has any questions?
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Bill Walatich, and then Mr. Fane Lozman.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Welcome to the podium, Mr. Bill.
I'm sorry?
Welcome. You have 3 minutes. Welcome to the podium.
Hi, Bill Walatich, Lone Pine resident since Moby Dick was a minnow, like 40 years. I want to thank Mr. Sermons and Councilwoman Botel for really clearing that up about this 8A item on the agenda. This was really throwing all of us for a loop. It almost sounded like it's over and done. So thank you. My blood pressure has gone down since you told me that. We're getting down to the deadline on a second reading regarding rezoning of the golf course property. The residents of Lone Pine hope the council members who voted no to rezone remain steadfast. We thank you for your vote again. We also hope the council people who voted yes to rezone have a change of mind and vote no as the residents desire. The rezoning issue has been a long drawn-out affair, and the residents did not alter their view. We do not want rezoning. You have heard many times the many valid reasons, not excuses, to not rezone. The pros to not rezone overwhelmingly outnumber the cons. Some residents had thought since the golf course had closed, the rezoning was a done deal. Just to show you our commitment, the residents who spearheaded the issue managed to let the people know this was not the case. This took some time. This took some doing, like constantly posting on Nextdoor and flyers passed out to all the residents. The golf course had closed down once before 30 some odd years ago. It was closed for a couple of years. The vegetation and growth presented no problem whatsoever. That was before any fencing was installed. The golf course eventually opened up. We have done all we possibly can to convince you not to rezone. We spoke at these city council meetings. We have given valid safety issues. We have given environmental issues. We have given engineering issues. We want our community to remain safe, secure, and peaceful the way it is now. Please don't take that away. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Bill.
Mr. Chair, it's now 7:30. Next will be Mr. Fane Lozman.
So, public comments are now closed?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Followed by Ms. Rochelle Baker Hughes.
Welcome to the podium, Mr. Fane Lozman.
I'm sorry.
Welcome. You have 3 minutes.
Fane Lozman. You know, people come up here and they just make representations that aren't true. The property with the canal had a comp plan amendment on Blue Heron back in the summer of 21 or 22. And you also had a comp plan amendment where you got rid of the savings clause. The savings clause stopped the city from having a taking. Mr. Sermons had got up numerous times and talked about the savings clause, that if you had judicially determined vested rights, you could build 1 unit per 1 acre. Botel snuck through a comp plan change where you have to have 20 acres of dry land to build a house on it in the lagoon. 20 acres. You know, there's been over $100,000 of taxpayers' money spent on the survey from George Chappie Young. In the last 108 years, you've had hundreds of surveys done over there with hundreds of different surveyors. In 108 years, nobody had a problem with the 1915 market, but Botel did. Botel was the lady who brought in Lewis Longman and Walker with Jeff Gagnon back in 2019 and pushed all these things down the back of your throats without realizing what you were doing. Now, what is the biggest thing that's happened as far as liability in local politics, maybe in Florida's history? A week or two ago, Mr. Pittman would be familiar with it. Joe Carollo, who is the former City Miami mayor, currently a City Miami commissioner, a case was filed against him by a couple of business owners in Miami where he was retaliating against them based on their First Amendment rights. Went to a federal court. There was a lengthy jury trial. The jury came back with a $63 million judgment. Unbelievable judgment. That is the roadmap that Dan Taylor, myself, and other people that have been retaliated against by Botel, by Sermons, by the city manager, that's the roadmap we're going to go down. We're not going to come after the city for damages. We're going to come after these individuals that have abused their power. We have a whole paper trail of Botel sending emails. Get rid of their fence. They can't have a fence. Call up DEP, directing people to do things like she runs the city. And she knows that the city manager is beholden to her, because if he doesn't do what she wants, she'll try to coordinate to get him fired. So the bottom line is that we know what has to be done. You talk about zoning with a fence. You're right, you can't put a cattle fence up. You can't put a 12-foot barbed wire fence. But any property in the state of Florida is entitled to a boundary fence. That's the law. But the point is, Botel, she doesn't want to have a fence. So she would rather have the city be liable on a separate legal action for our attorney's fees, because she is such an obsessive control freak. She tells the city manager what to do, how to do it, hires a 19-year-old kid, gives him a $65,000 salary, gives him a pandemic pay for $430,000. Botel, you'd be the next Joe Carollo.
Thank you, Mr.
Next will be Ms. Rochelle Baker Hughes and Ms. Lady Goldmarch.
Welcome, Ms. Baker Hughes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Chairperson, Mayor, and council people, Jonathan Evans, everybody. Hello. I'm Rochelle Baker Hughes, Lone Pine Estates. Of course, you know why I'm here. Begging, pleading, please don't rezone the golf course. I do want to thank Mr. Sermons, Dr. Botel, and Ms. Lanier for doing the clarification on that 8A item. I will only tell you that when I was reading the whole agenda packet on Saturday night, I literally freaked out. You can ask my husband. I was, and so yeah. So I just want to thank them all for clearing that up. I do want to say, hopefully, we're going to have a date for the second reading, Mr. Evans or Mr. Sermon, soon, because this has been a long process. I think I've been here since day one, and it's long, 2020. It's now 2023. And so hopefully we can get this done, put behind us, and we all go back to the way we were. So again, I implore all of you, please, 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 please think about the rezoning. Even if you go back to the original development of that property back in 1976, 77, 78, whenever it was to always have a golf course. Otherwise, I think they would have put houses where that golf course was. So please don't rezone. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we'll have Miss Lady Gold March and then Miss Cindy March.
Welcome, Ms. Lady.
Hi, good evening, Lady March Goldwire. I wanted to come up here first and foremost and start out apologizing to some of the individuals who may have been offended by my comments relative to the fire station and the fire mural. I want to go on record and say that I was in no way being dismissive of the valor and the sacrifices made by the people at Ground Zero. It doesn't fall on deaf ears that there's been tremendous sacrifice by this country. I want to just further expand on my position as a resident of Riviera Beach, as somebody who's, grown up, raised, born here.
Contents have been updated. To continue, review the
Big Brother's watching. We have so many local fire science heroes, people that we grew up with under this community, their tutelage. We've had so many firsts. The first African-American firefighter here, one that still advocates fearlessly and fearfully for most of the people on staff currently. When you look at what's going on in our communities as far as people of color are concerned, you have a situation where on a daily basis, they are going into schools and the curriculum has been changed, it's been altered. Our history has been extracted from our day-to-day. When you have 47 to 50,000 cars passing the street each day and you've got a 20-foot monument, it would be ideal for us to take advantage of the opportunity to teach our children about who came from this community. It would be ideal for us to plant seeds where it relates to preserving our posterity, because the neighborhoods are changing. History is changing. A lot of us can't afford to live here anymore. In 10 years, it's going to look very, very different. And so the ask did not come from a space of being adversarial. It didn't come from a place of wanting to be confrontational. It came from a place of being super, super concerned about establishing who we have been in this community since the beginning of time, or since 1928. I think that it has been said that unless it goes back before the board, there will be no reconsideration for changing out the mural. I think in fairness, I don't know if the board decided on it, but if they did, I think it's something that should be reconsidered, because ultimately there are people in this community who are going to ride by, who get the opportunity to walk home from school, where a great opportunity to have some history lessons unfold can happen. And I don't think we need to miss out on that opportunity with that fire station being planted on one of the most visible intersections in our community. So while I'm sorry if I offended anybody, I'm unapologetic about the position and believe a lot of the residents are too.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. March.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We'll have Ms. Cindy March and Ms. Brenda Brown, or Benda.
Welcome, Ms. Cindy March.
Welcome again. Hi. I was wanted to speak on the low-income housing and the first-time home buyers. I had seen something on social media about the registration for it. I'm so proud of myself. I give myself a pat on the back because I have saved financially. I have my credit score where it needs to be, and I'm ready to register if it's available. I thought I wasn't going to be able to attend the classes because with this job I have now, I wasn't certain where my permanent position was going to be. Being that I found out yesterday, my permanent position with the hours will allow me to attend the workshop. I want to reach this goal. Even though I'm 60 years old, I work hard and I want something for myself, so I won't be left behind. I want to live in a city where we love to live, work, and play. And if I can just have someone to assist me or give me the information that I need to move forward, I'm ready. And I thank you for that opportunity if it prevails for me. Also, I just want to know what's up with the street lightings that you all putting up. You can't even see up and down Blue Heron. It's like it's a yellow bulb or something. That's distraction. You can't even see what lane you in when you driving up and down Broadway from Blue Heron, up and down Blue Heron, going east to west, west to east. You've been on Run Epsom. That's why I try to get home before dark, because you cannot see with them street lights there. They're not adequate enough for no one to see. So if someone can look in that, I greatly appreciate it. I also want to say to Kashawn Miller, since I was very self-explanatory with the other meeting because I was trying to cram everything in, that was a compliment to you as a person, not looking at you as a council person, because you never know. You just never know when it might be someone in your family. So I appreciate as an auntie that you reached out to the lady about her son, because that's why I always say mental illness is real. Until you have a loved one or until you went through it yourself, you would never understand it. It was heartbreaking for her to come up to the hospital to see me the way I was, and then she was able to speak out on your behalf, and I greatly appreciate it. I do want to thank you, and do have a great night.
Thank you, Ms. Cindy March.
Next is Ms. Brenda Brown, and then lastly, Ms. J.B. Dixon.
Welcome, Ms. Brenda Brown.
Good evening, the top of the evening to the panel platform, current residents, and other constituents in attendance. First of all, I would like to commend the panel for the no loitering effect at most of the area convenience stores in Riviera Beach. Secondly, Garden Road lights at night are still yet inoperative and has been for an extensive long period of time. When would this concern be given a priority? Thirdly, National Village Roadway needs re-asphalting at Blue Heron and Congress. It's really bad right there, just before you turn off past Family Dollar to head towards 95. Fourth, a long-existing recreation facility at 35th and O Avenue. I know, Ms. Lanier, you had said that's your district, and that to my knowledge, it is still there, and there is still abandoned, and the property has not been given attention because there are still hoarders there, okay? I have also expressed and emphasized on numerous public comments that there should be other establishments in the city of Riviera Beach other than the developers and local convenience stores. We should have other things such as varied sorts of clothing stores, entertainment, and residence engagement, and not just only food establishments. After all, aren't we a city that supposedly work, live, and play together?
Thank you for your comments, Ms. Brown.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Last, we have Ms. J.B. Dixon.
Welcome, Ms. J.B. Dixon.
Hi, hello.
Hello.
J.B. Dixon, Singer Island in Riviera Beach. I am very, very concerned about many of the things that our representatives presented tonight. Many of the threats to our community and any local community are being taken by what I call the Tallahassee takeover. And the particular thing that I think will affect all of you is the need to have complete financial disclosure for anyone who runs for office, as though, it's not enough to ask you to do what you do. You place yourself at great risks. If you have a valuable coin collection, let's say, and you have to say, that you own it and that it's worth X number of dollars, you pretty much tell everyone who wants to rip off a good place, they know where you live and now they know what you have. If your Rolex is worth $1,000 or more, which most of them are, that again says to someone, if I want a Rolex or I want to be able to fence one, I know where to get one. Primarily what that is that it takes down the number of people who will be willing to run for any office anywhere. And that is taking away our local representation. It is all part, along with the removal of home rule. It's our community cannot decide what it wants. Tallahassee can tell us what it wants. And that is you have seen the banning of books. You have seen the removal of history, the revision of history. You have seen the taking away, little by little, like boiling a lobster, our rights as individuals, but now our rights as cities. So I think that we need to let our citizens be aware of what these slow and seemingly sometimes innocuous efforts by Tallahassee are meant to do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Ms. JB. Madam Clerk, any additional comments?
No, sir, that's it.
Okay, if we can move on to regular agenda, item 11. Let's go ahead and actually move into that. Mr. Evans, if you want to address any of the comments from the public before we move on to the agenda item. Thank you.
Yes, if I can have Director Sermons come in and speak about the comp plan related items, and then I will speak on some of the other items that were communicated. Director Sermons.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. Again, Clarence Sermons, Director of Development Services. To clarify some of the comments made regarding the city's comprehensive plan, the last major amendment that the city made to its comprehensive plan was before the state enacted the requirement for a property rights element. It was actually not possible for us to make major amendments to our comprehensive plan after that went into effect because the state would not approve anything that we sent to them. The city is able to make minor amendments to its comprehensive plan. The rezoning of the change of the future land use designation of a small property is considered a small amendment and does not have to go to the state for approval. Those were allowed. However, anything major would have been rejected by the state. And for those reasons, the assertion is inaccurate that we made illegal changes to our comprehensive plan after that went into effect. And if there's any other follow-up questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Thank you, Ms. Sermons. Question for Ms. Sermons? Mr. Evans, go ahead.
With respect to any inquiries concerning the availability of housing or the housing program, Ms. Anita Jenkins is our point person, both in the CRA as well as the city, concerning the availabilities of those programs and what persons have to do to facilitate participating in those programs. The lights, that's something that we will work with FDOT and our contractor. Sometimes those lights, they're LED lights, so they need to be adjusted accordingly. So we'll have staff take a look at that. Garden Road and National Village, those are county roads. And so we've been working on the Garden Road issue for a significant amount of time and looking to see some improvements there. But we will also look to address the concerns as it relates to National Village and the roadways. And I'll reach out to, or have staff reach out to the individual to get some additional clarity to make sure that we're looking at the right roadway. Concerning economic development, the board knows that we did hire a new economic and business development manager who is working on an economic development plan strategy to help attract, recruit, and retain the businesses that we'd like to see in our community, and certain things that we're looking to help facilitate that. So that's going to be forthcoming in the coming months. So I did want to address those items, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Evans.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, Councilwoman Botel.
Thank you. I just have a few questions, two questions actually for Mr. Evans with regard to some comments that were made. Can you tell me if I or any council member knew that a survey was being done to defend the city against the takings lawsuit that was being brought by Mr. Lozman?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Go ahead, Mr. Evans.
Those particular conversations and legal strategies, those are handled through the legal department. And so I'm not at liberty to communicate or speak on that. But in most cases, those situations are handled with Ms. Nguyen, with outside counsel, and those recommendations as it relates to legal strategies are done between the legal department and whomever is representing the city's interest at that.
Thank you.
Mr. Evans, and go ahead, follow up.
Thank you. Just as a follow-up to that, I don't recall that I or any council member made the decision to hire Lewis Longman and Walker. Again, I think that was something done by our legal department, which has free reign to hire whatever attorney is the most appropriate to handle whatever case comes before our legal department. So maybe I don't even have to ask that question of Mr. Evans. I'll answer it myself. No, I had no involvement either in the hiring of Lewis Longman and Walker or the request to have a survey done. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Botel. Madam Clerk, item 11.
Yes, item 11A, resolution number 7623, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, approving plat application number PA-22-0006 from 1800 West Blue Heron, OPCO LLC, applicant, to replat the following parcels of record. Parcel control numbers PCN 56-43-42-30-28-000-0032 and 56-43-42-30-28-000-0050, approximately 2.03 acres, or 88,272 square feet, generally located along the north side west of Blue Heron Boulevard, just east of the North Congress Avenue and West Blue Heron Boulevard intersection for future development, and providing for an effective date and for other purposes. Mr. Chair, we do not have any public comment cards on this item. The acceptance of public comment cards are now closed.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Motion to approve resolution number 76-23.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's been made and properly second. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair and members of the board, if I can have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, to make this presentation.
Welcome again, Mr. Sermons.
All right, good evening again. For this item, if you would turn your attention to the screen for a brief PowerPoint presentation. The property in question is located within the red dashed line. It is next to existing development within a strip of properties that are controlled by an existing site plan. The proposed development is to utilize the two properties here for one development for a car wash. The applicant is requesting approval to conduct a car wash consisting of 4,414 square feet, outdoor seating areas on 2 parcels of land totaling 2.03 acres. Currently, the property is vacant. The lot size, again, is approximately 2.03 acres. The existing zoning is commercial general, and the future land use designation is commercial. The proposed site plan is before you on the screen. At the bottom of the screen is Blue Heron Boulevard, and you would access the property at the point here. This is the proposed structure for the car wash with circulation going through the property. Before you now is the proposed landscaping plan for the property. Staff did take extensive time with the applicant to ensure that the proposed landscaping would be meeting our heightened standards for Blue Heron Boulevard, but also providing buffers to properties to the rear. Before you now are the proposed elevations for the project. And now for the staff review. As this is a request for a site plan, Section 31-57 of the code outlines the purpose of that review to ascertain if the proposed new development is in conformity with the comprehensive plan, to make sure that the proposed development is not detrimental to the neighboring land use, that an efficient pedestrian and vehicular traffic system, including proper means of ingress and egress to the streets, is provided for, and also that the proposed project shall be a viable addition to the community. In addition to the site plan application request, this development proposal also includes the request for a special exception to be granted, which is required of car wash uses. The Land Development Code defines special exceptions as follows: a use, structure, or PUD that would not be appropriate generally or without restriction throughout a particular zoning district, but would, if controlled as to number, area, location, or relocation to neighborhood, be appropriate. This definition of special exception indicates that this class of land uses should be regulated as to the number in a given area, or the use could have a negative impact on the community. With that in mind, staff did review existing car washes in the city. Again, the proposed development location is indicated by the red boxes here. There are 5 other existing car washes along the corridor, 2 of them standalone car washes here and here, 3 others that are part of developments that include gas stations. As far as public notice, staff ensured that required state and city regulations regarding public notice were met before this hearing took place. And staff recommendations. Staff recommends that City Council approve this application to the city based on the following conditions. 1, a 2-year landscaping performance bond be provided for 110% of the value of the landscaping. 2, construction and landscaping improvements must be initiated within 18 months of the effective date of this resolution. 3, City Council authorizes staff to approve future amendments to this site plan administratively, so long as the proposed changes do not deviate greater than 5% from what is before you today. 4, that the development receive final CO within 5 years of the approval resolution. 5, all future advertising must state that the development is located within the city of Riviera Beach. 6, once approved, this resolution shall supersede any previous site plan approval resolutions. 8, that the developer install and maintain a Palm Tran mass transit shelter with appropriate access, lighting, trash receptacles with the specified color, and that the property owner maintain that installation as including the trash receptacles in perpetuity. And finally, and this was a result of conversations with the Planning and Zoning Board, which did recommend approval for this. The 8th recommendation condition is that the applicant shall actively advertise employment opportunities for temporary and permanent positions within the city of Riviera Beach. including participation at community job fairs or hosting specialized recruitment events. The developer shall provide a report to the Development Services Department at 6 months post certificate of occupancy, documenting the outreach efforts to acquire local employees, the number of local employees hired, the number of local businesses contracted with, subject to employment and privacy laws, and the percentage of construction costs expended with local vendors. The applicant did agree to this condition. This proposed development, as you see on the agenda, has two parts, a requested plat to combine the lots and the requested site plan special exception to approve the development of the lot as proposed on the screen previously. That concludes the staff presentation on this item. The applicant is here and ready and willing to present.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Sermons. Councilwoman Botel, go ahead.
Just a question about, 5 car washes, and I wonder how many gas stations. And that's not a question really for tonight, it's just a comment that we seem to have a lot of them. And I'm hoping that we have a plan in place, or wondering, maybe that is a question, do we have a plan in place for ensuring that the highest and best use of that major corridor of our city is put to that major corridor is put to the highest and best use? And I'm happy to see that this particular car wash wants to come to town, because I know of their record as being environmentally friendly. I think that's wonderful. I remember their presentation to us in the past, and I was quite impressed. I guess I'm just wondering about another car wash. I mean, are we going to at some point say, okay, we have enough car washes, we have enough gas stations, we're going to put some other entity on this major corridor in Riviera Beach?
To that point, Councilwoman Botel, that was one of the concerns I did address. Being that we're on the plot and we want to go ahead and dispose of this, I do believe that's something that we need to address in regards to the comprehensive plan, the master plan, and the vision moving forward. But excuse me, I do want to dispose of this item before going into the plan and vision for what we're going to see with the rest of the parcel. I understand that you want to correlate the two, but we do have to dispose of this first. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments?
No, sir.
No? And I do believe we have the speakers. Do they have a presentation as well? If you can take note of actually Councilwoman Botel's comments, that is something that I do want us to address tonight or in the very near future, because we did have comments in our agenda review, Ms. Jacobs, Assistant City Manager, in reference to possible solutions and options as well. Welcome. How are you, sir?
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Council members. John Schmidt, agent for the applicant.
Welcome, John.
We have a 3-part presentation for you this evening. We have the co-founding CEO of Mint Eco tonight, Jeff Jarvis. I'm going to have him do a quick presentation about the business itself. And then also one of the general managers, Boaz Deserme, get up here, and then I'll go through the technicals, and our team is here to answer any questions. I think we can address Ms. Botel's concerns. With that, I'd like to bring Jeff up here and go from there.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Welcome, Jeff. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. How are you?
Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Council, Mr. Mayor, City Manager. I appreciate the time. We've been working on this project for a while. Just to address quickly a little bit about what Councilperson Botel mentioned, this lot, I have not had a history of this lot for this long, but it's my understanding that there's never been anything developed on this lot. It has been for sale. It has been bandied around by different owners, and we represent the first owner willing to develop on this lot. So very excited to do that. But as far as one other comment, I think that the mention that there were 5 car washes on Blue Heron, there are 2 open car washes. There are 3 closed car washes, inoperable tunnels at gas stations. So there are 2. There's one down by Singer Island, and there's one on the western side of 95. And so we represent a car wash straight in the middle of the community. And so just wanted to clarify that. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm Jeff Jarvis. I'm a co-founder of Mint Eco Car Wash, and I guess the dubious honor of being its CEO. While my colleague John Schmidt from Schmidt Nichols will talk about the development, I wanted to take a moment to just talk about us, and most importantly, talk about how we are different. I think it's not an unfair assessment of car washes that they are physically unattractive, that they are uninspiring employers, that they are indifferent to the community as a general rule, and poor environmental custodians. And when my partners and I started this business and formed the idea to start this business in 2018, we did so in order to change this industry. And I think the change can best be articulated by our biggest cultural principles, which is that we are a relationship-oriented organization, and we focus on 4 key relationships: the customer, the employee, the community, and the environment. And I'm going to go through just a few slides to give you some examples. I think it starts with the look of these buildings. Now, I haven't found an attractive car wash yet in my research, yet I think we've accomplished it. This is our wash on Southern Boulevard, and this is what our signage and what our landscaping looks like, and it starts right there. It goes further into our seating areas: coral stone pavers, 8-foot Calusia hedges, Adirondacks, shade provided by palm trees, not canopies, climbing vines over the pedestals, and a beauty that at Hope will be commensurate with the experience of trying to re-beautify your car. And we take it very seriously. Very simple color palettes of white buildings. Why did we choose a white building? Because it's the hardest color to keep clean. And if we're going to sell clean, we better be able to show people that we can do it for ourselves. We have the most impeccable bathrooms of any car wash I've ever seen. As a matter of fact, one of our washes is on Southern Boulevard. And when the Secret Service and the Sheriff's Office and West Palm Beach police were all called to protect that route, they came to us and they said, "Do you mind if we use your bathrooms? Our guys have gone up and down Southern Boulevard within a mile range, and yours are the only clean bathrooms we've found." We said we'd be delighted to. As a matter of fact, we went further. We wash every police car, not just starting then, it started the idea, but we watch every police car in any municipality we're in, including those in adjacent municipalities and the sheriff's office, for free. We offer free coffee. We offer, clean bathrooms. Just a good community service, and we do want to make that available not only to our customers, but also to members of the community. If you look inside our lobbies, this is not what your typical car wash looks like. As a matter of fact, we designed these to feel like a spa lobby, right? As a matter of fact, if you go in there, not only do you see the visual enhancements here, but you also hear that we actually play spa music. So other than driving our lobby attendants crazy with the sound of wind chimes and running water, it's a great customer experience. And it's different, right? So we try and be different for customers. Our difference also extends to the services that we provide. Most car washes have a tunnel, and the modern car wash is built with a tunnel and then an opportunity to use free vacuums. Most modern car washes, 99% of the car washes in the United States that have been built in the last 2 years, do not offer interiors and do not offer details. We are bucking that trend. We are the 1% of going the other direction. We offer not only a tunnel, we offer free vacuums, we also offer interior services done by our staff, and we offer detail services. Right, so we are a differentiated product relative to what's being offered in the market. And we do that because we know that the customer wants it. The industry's gone the other direction because it's the most expedient, labor-light, most efficient, highest profit margin business. But we believe that that's only a temporary situation, and one that it's best to build a business around what a customer wants and not about how easy it is to run a business. Our second commitment here is to the community. Every one of our washes draws a 3-mile circle around it. We draw that 3-mile circle and we reach out to every educational institution, whether it be public or private. We reach out to every religious organization, no matter its faith or denomination. And we reach out to every charitable organization, so long as it doesn't have an offensive mandate. And we donate. We reach out actively to reverse inquire to donate. And each one of our washes has a goal of donating $50,000 to the local community every year. Last year, we exceeded that goal, and our 3 current operating washes donated over $200,000 to the local communities. And that's in addition to the free washes that we give to the police departments, et cetera. You can see a list of some of the names that we've given to. We've also, and there's a picture of a West Palm Beach police car being washed at our West Palm Beach location. We've also, as far as community partners, there's some community partners listed further up on the top. And then as far as our community posture, I think we have to put our actions in with our words. Before we proposed this wash, we went out to the community and met with everybody within a radius around us, all of our neighbors. We've gotten verbal support from every single one of our neighbors, in addition to written support from the multifamily development behind us, right? It was important for us to be in a community where we wanted to be and where we had support from our neighbors. And so we have done that. In addition, we adopt a park for every one of our washes, and we clean it at least 6 to 8 times a year. We have actually already adopted the Ocean Reef Park, which is in Riviera Beach, but we adopted it for our Jupiter wash, which is just up the street, obviously, because Jupiter didn't have any parks that they let us adopt. And so we came down, adopted Riviera Beach. I believe we've cleaned this beach over a dozen times. I myself have been at 8 of those 12 cleans. And by the way, we make them open to the public, and we love to have more people join us than just our staff. It's a great way to start your day. As far as, our response from the community, we've won several awards. In 2022, we won the best car wash in Palm Beach County. In 2023, we repeated and won that award again. This is an award given by the Palm Beach Post through a user and broad survey. We're very proud of this, and we're very excited to bring a business that has won back-to-back Best of Palm Beach moniker to Riviera Beach. We believe that it's something that should be in this community. We've also won multiple awards from the Department of Defense, including most recently the Patriot Award for our support of the Guard and Reserves as an employer. Our third constituency is the environment. Most businesses, there's a zero-sum game here. What's good for business is not good for the environment, and what's good for the environment is not good for business. We challenge that. We believe that business and the environment can work in concert and be mutually beneficial. Call us tree-hugging capitalists, if you like. We have recycling stations, water refill stations, hand dryers, LED light bulbs, low-flow toilets, water-saving technology. We've even gone so far as to use bamboo toilet paper because it's more environmentally friendly to do so. The biggest thing that we do, however, is that we recycle 100% of the water that we use on our site. Not only do we recycle 100% of our water, we also use 100% biodegradable and non-toxic to human and non-toxic to fish chemistry. There is no regulation of our industry beyond the broad federal regulations for chemicals, yet we adopt voluntary policies. As a matter of fact, have posted our voluntary audit online so that other car washes can learn how to be an environmentally friendly car wash as well. We've also won some awards and been a finalist for Best Eco-Friendly Business on the same award ranks, as well as in the Chamber of Palm Beach, North Palm Beach. We've also been a finalist for an environmental award, and we look forward to continuing our environmental track record there. What truly makes us different, however, is our fourth constituency and our fourth relationship, and that is our employees. We have about $1 million, as a matter of fact, this year we're running at about a $1.2 million payroll at each one of our washes. We have a 40-person payroll. We have between 15 and 25 people on site at any time of operation. We are a fully staffed, labor-heavy, customer service-heavy model, right? We personally greet, we hand dry cars, we have a quality control person at the end of the process delivering your car to you with an assessment of the quality that we've given. We've won, and this I think is the first car wash that I've ever heard of, we won Top Places to Work awards in the Sun Sentinel. I think that's a pretty good achievement for a business that has a healthy amount of its employees being hourly employees as well. And this is based on an anonymous employee survey of our employees that was conducted by a third party. Being an employee of Mint Eco Car Wash is a lucrative endeavor. We have the highest pay rates in the county for sure. You start on the top left as a line staff employee, making with tips between $15 and more likely $20 to $30 an hour, right? You then move on to a customer service position once you've gotten certified, making $25 to $35 an hour. If you're successful at that position, you become an assistant manager, of which every site has at least one, if not two, that makes $50,000 a year of salary with a bonus that gets them to $75,000. And every one of our managers our assistant managers, has made very close to the 75, if not in excess of the $75,000 for every year that we've been open. And then if you're successful at assistant manager, you become a manager, and a manager makes $75,000 salary with a $50,000 potential bonus, making $125,000 a year. And what we attempt to do is to migrate our employees very intentionally from each rank to the next. And we're very proud of that. We think that it is a big accomplishment on our part to, to have promoted from within. And I want to bring up one of our managers at our current site out on Okeechobee, Boaz Dormistoir. Boaz has been with us for just about a year, and I'd like for him to tell his story.
Good evening, everyone. Again, my name is Boaz Dormistoir. I'm the general manager for Mint Eco's Okeechobee location. And I myself am actually a product of Riviera Beach, having attended Inlet Grove High School for 4 years. So I know a lot of people have come before this council before making a lot of promises, and I just here to assure everyone here today that every word or every promise that's been made here today is 100% true. I myself am proof of these statements. I am proud to work at Mint Eco, and I am indebted to work for this great company. A year ago, I left Chick-fil-A to work at an entry level here at Mint Eco, and I started making $15 an hour plus commissions. I worked hard, and I was rewarded with 2 promotions. Now I run a multi-million-dollar site, manage 40 employees, and I make $125,000 a year. And I guarantee that this same opportunity will be available to the residents of this great city. Mint Eco is not just another car wash. As someone that has experience in the food industry, I believe Mint Eco is the Chick-fil-A of car washes, which means our products or services that we offer are taken to the next level because of the fact that we actually make it our mission to make sure we spread happiness and then we take care of our people and our community. Riviera Beach deserves something that's going to take care of its people and its employees as well, because we offer programs like tuition assistance for anyone that's in school. So I really encourage that this council would permit this city to come to Riviera Beach, because if we're looking to make this city better, this is the company that will do it.
Thank you, Mr. Boaz.
Just wanted to finish this slide, thank you, Boaz, with what Mr. Shermans mentioned earlier, which is some commitments that we made. And if I could correct Mr. Shermans said that we agreed to. We volunteered these things that I'm about to tell you. Number one, we volunteered a commitment to hire locally. Not only will we advertise and hold job fairs, but we will give preference to Riviera Beach residents for all $1.2 million of that payroll that we see at our current sites and we expect to have at this site. We will hold job fairs. We also allow second chance hirings. Many businesses have a red line. You check a box if you're a felon and that's it. We have that same box. And if you answer correctly, you get to continue in the interview process. If, however, you don't, and we do a background check on you and you haven't disclosed that honestly, that's when you get redlined out of our organization. In addition, this build is a $4 to $5 million build when including all the construction costs and the cost of the equipment. We have a commitment that we have made, which we have offered and we have volunteered to, and the city has agreed to codify, where we will give preference to Riviera Beach contractors. As a matter of fact, our in-house general contractor has experience in Riviera Beach, has relationships in Riviera Beach, and promises me that we will be able to find a vast majority of our contracting relationships here in the city, and we look forward to that. In closing, I would just say this. This is a partnership. You're offering us the opportunity to come into your city, and we appreciate that partnership. And I don't want to be a good partner in my words here up at the podium when I'm trying to convince you to approve this. I promise you that we will be a good partner in perpetuity. As a community supporter, as an environmental leader, as a great employer, and bringing an award-winning product to Riviera Beach. I'll turn it over to John now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Those guys are tough to follow. I'm going to try to get through these technicals fairly quickly here, if I may. Again, so the site, 2 acres along Blue Heron Boulevard, just east of the fire station that's under construction. This will be the kind of the final development of this undeveloped piece of property. It has a current land use of commercial and your highest zoning of general commercial designation on the property. This is currently the vacant site. It's void of landscape and any development. It's not getting picked up very well, and we plan to change that. This is the proposed site plan, and with the proposed site plan, as Jeff pointed out, we are considerably in the green area. Our maximum building coverage isn't even close to what's allowed, nor the FAR. Our parking is 12 over what the code requires. Our setbacks are over double and triple what they require, and the green space is also double of the requirements. The landscaping is either code compliant or considerably above. In the native counts, the size of the tree, the number of trees, the amount of buffering that's put on here that aren't on the adjacent properties is double of what you're seeing out there. This is the very contemporary architecture that's proposed for the site. As I mentioned, the white on the primary building, and then the stone, and then the canopy covers for the free vacuuming, as well as the detailing. Our site operations, there's direct access off of Blue Heron Boulevard. You go eastbound to stage up in 8 stacking lanes. You proceed through the tunnel, come out the tunnel, and then you make a choice to either go to the left for for detailing. Oh, come on, advance one more for me here. There you go. To these different areas, there's free vacuuming along the front. You have interior detailing and exterior detailing. That's all readily available for you, or you can just purely exit the property. Compatible elements, there's a 6-foot wall along the northern property line. We've placed the building, there's a 6-foot wall and enhanced buffers along the northern property line. The car wash tunnel is oriented east-west to make sure that there's no, we took care of sound. It's not going towards the residential properties. We've got over 100-foot separation to the residential and almost 200 feet to any actually residential building. Benefits in the infill development. Infill development along Blue Heron Boulevard follows the principal arterial design standards. So you have additional design standards that are along that corridor. We meet and exceed those. We provide cross-access consistent with the adjacent properties. We have an active, fully staffed, secured site that will eliminate any loitering that's happening out there now, eyes on the corridor, and coordination with local law enforcement. We provide landscape buffers to the east and west to visually screen the proposed use from others that aren't currently there. And we will be fulfilling a prior commitment for bus station 2851. You heard them up earlier here tonight, Palm Tran. That's not out there right now. It was a commitment by the past developer. It was never done, and we'll be completing that, as well as the condition of approval to maintain it. Economic benefits. The site will be an infill development along the Blue Heron corridor. As Jeff mentioned, it's over a $4 million investment. It's going to have over $3 million in annual sales, over $1 million in annual payroll. It's going to equate to plus or minus $27,000 to the city in terms of tax revenue. It's going to employ 30 to 40 jobs. We have typically 2 shifts a day. He already kind of went over the difference between the car washes. We meet special exception standards A through G. I'm going to just quickly click these off. Mr. Sermons really kind of touched on those, and we can answer any questions that you may have as we go through. Why should you support it? We demonstrate compliance with Section 3162 of the Special Exception Standards. The proposed use is consistent and compatible with the adopted comprehensive plan, the zoning district, and the development code. It meets the city's and county's traffic performance standards, TPS, and has considerably less traffic and intensity that any other use would have on there. We receive letters of support from our neighbors. and provided the condition number 8 with regard to hiring. This is a letter from the neighboring property owner supporting the project. Mr. Sermons has that on file. And in conclusion, I think what you heard from the CEO, from Boaz, we've got city's recommendation of approval. We received unanimous approval from the board, from your planning board. We received, again, support from the neighbors. And based on the testimony, our application, I hope you feel that you can support the project tonight. Thank you for your consideration. And again, our team's here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your comments, and thank you for the presentation. Madam Clerk, you said no public comments, correct?
No public comments, sir. Mr. Chair?
Comments from the board? Go ahead, Ms.
I'm
Miller.
not sure if I missed it. What are the hours of operation?
The hours of operation would be weekdays. I have this for you. So Monday through
7 to
Saturday,
9.
7 to 9, and Sunday, 9 to 5.
7 in the morning to 9 at night?
Yes.
And then what was the other one?
Sunday is 9 to 5.
Thank you, Ms. Millerton. Colleagues, any other comments?
Um,
Madam Pro Tem, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. No, I was looking at the salary structure, and I was very impressed with that, with the opportunity for people to be able to get a job and then also be able to, in a short period of time, it seems, escalate to having a livable wage. And I was concerned when I first saw this about the number of car washes on Blue Heron. But having done some homework, and then I went to one of your car washes on Southern, and it was a very pleasant experience. And I think that with the commitment to the community, I really like the idea of, I've been on this real mission to look at and have community involvement in beautifying Riviera Beach. And I think that buildings that come to the city that enhance the beauty of the city is something that we need to do, because that Broadway, Blue Heron Quarter can stand some beautification. So I do like the concept of the trees and the landscaping and of course that salary.
Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Councilwoman Botel, you okay?
No, actually, it's a little tangential, but I had a question about the employment, and it wasn't necessarily for this particular project. I'm wondering if at some point I can have a report from staff about how we track the promises made. In other words, I've seen in the past that people have come to the city and said, "Oh, we're going to hire local. We're going to." So I think at some point I would like to have, and I think my colleagues might agree, I'd like to have an explanation of how do we track that promise? How do we make sure that individuals who come to us and promise to hire local actually do hire local? So it's not exactly about this topic, but that's it.
Thank you. And I did have this exact same sentiments in making sure that we can hold our partners accountable. But first, thank you, because it's an amazing product. You guys have been committed to beautifying this community and employing local. That's our biggest concern from this dais. So making sure that we give opportunities to our residents and making sure that it's not just a one-time where they're developing, but they're also consistently being able to grow with your firm. So thank you for the opportunity to work with the city of Riviera Beach.
If I could just say one thing.
Please.
One thing that Mr. Sermons did negotiate into it was that I believe Mr. Sermons is after 6 months, we have to come back with documentation of our employment records. So we do, Councilperson Botel, we do have an accountability.
Good.
As well as with the local contractors that we used.
Perfect. And you did say that you provide tuition assistance?
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So inside
Healthcare.
Perfect. Thank you. So there are going to be some local participation and job opportunities. So we will see them again in 6 months. Is that after CO, or when is that going to be?
Right. That's 6 months after certificate of occupancy. So it is a while after the business has opened.
Thank you. Excellent. Colleagues? Madam Clerk?
Yes, Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier?
Yes.
Chairperson Lawson?
Yes.
That vote passes, Mr. Chair.
And congratulations. Welcome to the city.
Was Was there need to be two votes on that, one for the plat hearing? and-
We're going to call the next item now.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Not done
Madam Clerk, 11B.
Yes. 11B, Resolution Number 84-23, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Riviera Beach, Palm Beach County, Florida, on behalf of WMG Development LLC applicant, requesting a special exception use approval, application number SE-23-0003, and a major site plan amendment, application number SP-22-0017 for the Mint Eco Car Wash Blue Heron project in the city of Riviera Beach, Florida. The 2.03 acre, 88,272 square foot subject property, property control numbers PCNs 56-43-42-30-2800-0032 and 56-43-42-30-28-00-0050 is generally located along the north side of West Blue Heron Boulevard, just east of North Congress Avenue and West Blue Heron Boulevard intersection, in the general commercial CG zoning district, having a commercial COM future land use designation. The proposed site development on the currently unimproved parcel consists of one lane, 4,414 square feet automated car wash with the projected build-out in 2026, providing for conditions of approval, providing for an effective date, and providing for other purposes. Mr. Chair, this was properly advertised, and I do have the proof of publication, and we do not have any public comments on this item.
Motion to approve resolution number 84-23.
Second.
Thank you. The motion's been made and properly second. Mr. Evans?
Mr. Chair, members of the board, if I can have the Director of Development Services, Mr. Clarence Sermons, to make this presentation.
Go ahead, Mr. Sermons.
Good evening again, Mr. Chair. This item is the associated site plan and special exception with the item you just voted on. Staff does not have an additional presentation for it.
Thank you, Mr. Sermons. Colleagues?
No.
I did want to make one comment, and being that we're doing the site plan now in the discussion, to properly address Councilwoman Botel's concerns from earlier. And during the agenda review, I actually was not supportive of this item, but, visiting the site, hearing the presentation, I agree that we are consistently just seeing gas stations and car washes on our thoroughpaths. And all up and down Blue Heron, we want to see and attract different amenities. This car wash is going to be an amazing attribute because it's going to be a new facility, and it's one of the most beautiful I've seen in Palm Beach County. But I want us to start looking at possibly addressing some of the mixed use, retail mixed with housing, something that we can really beautify the corridor coming into our city. So I want us to address that, colleagues, moving forward, and see if staff can give us some additional recommendations of what we can do to not just keep getting, whether it's a single family, whether it's a car wash or a gas station, but addressing some of the things that we really want to see on the corridor. But in regards to the site plan, you've already presented about this, and I'm not sure, colleagues, if we'll address what these are going to look for or what we want to see moving forward with an agenda item or a presentation from staff and options, but I definitely think we need to address it. Go ahead, Councilwoman Lanier.
No, I don't have anything else to add. In fact, I agree with that. I just wanted to ask, I got a text from a resident that said that, where did they get applications? So I wanted to ask, are you doing applications and that kind of thing now? I told him I might.
It is going to take us a little while to get permits and construction, but I am happy to take applications. As a matter of fact, we're about to open a site on Palm Beach Lakes with the exact same dynamic, Palm Beach Lakes in 95. And so if anybody would like to submit an application, my email address is Jeff, I spell it Geoff, at mintecocarwash.com, and happy to pass along any applications to our HR department for current openings as well as for the eventual openings in Riviera Beach.
Thank you. Colleagues? Madam Clerk?
I'm sorry. Councilperson Botel?
Yes.
Councilperson Miller Anderson?
Yes.
Chair Pro Tem Lanier?
Yes.
Chair Lawson?
Yes.
That vote passes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
And then, Ms. Jacobs, if you could address some of the, just a few of those concerns about moving forward with what we can do and discuss, or set up a meeting or an agenda item.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Lawson. For the record, again, my name is Deirdre Jacobs. I'm the Assistant City Manager here with the City of Riviera Beach. That particular area of interest not only came up during agenda review, but it also was an issue that was internal to staff. Because we understand that the proliferation of certain uses can impede progress in terms of development, staff intends to take on an initiative to consider, even if we have to go as far as thinking about or considering a moratorium for several months in order to give us time to just not have to accept any other applications before we come into discussions to think about how is it that we develop our city in a more comprehensive fashion. Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Go ahead, Mayor.
Do we know how many more pieces of vacant property that's on Blue Heron that could be developed?
We have some maps of vacant parcels in the property, and we could potentially with GIS narrow it down to just the Blue Heron corridor, and we can provide that information.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Comments from our city manager?
Yes, Mr. Chair. A couple of items. We did put out information concerning the relocation of the Riviera Beach Police Department. We put that information out on social media as well as a press release, and that received some press coverage. We are moving to 2051 Dr. Martin Luther King. That is the Port Center. The Riviera Beach Police Department will be there. The numbers are all the same, and the best number to get a hold of us is 911, obviously. The other bit of information, we are closed in observance of the Juneteenth holiday, but trash services will be normal. So there will be no issues with regards to that. Additionally, I wanted to get direction from the board. You have a meeting scheduled for July 5th, and I had conversations with staff about the possibility of shifting that July 5th meeting to July 12th, and then your CRA meeting will be the last Wednesday in July, because we knew with the 4th of July holiday, didn't know if that was going to be a problem for board members as it relates to travel arrangements. So staff would like direction with respect to that particular item. And then lastly, wishing all the fathers and stepfathers and people that sit in that role in various capacities, uncles or what have you, happy Father's Day. And that concludes my comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Evans. And did you say we're going to be canceling the meeting on the 5th? Or
My recommendation would be the board cancel the meeting on the 5th and move that meeting to July 12th.
This month? Do we have a meeting on June 21st?
Yes.
Okay. All right, I'll save my comments for that one then. City Attorney? Thank you. Comments from the board, reports?
Committee
Councilwoman
reports.
Botel, committee reports?
Committee reports. May 24th, I attended the Palm Beach County League of Cities Board of Directors meeting and the general membership meeting, and I want to thank my colleagues and city staff for being there. It was wonderful to have so much support. I also attended the Palm Beach North Chamber Economic Development Committee meeting on May 25th. Shall I continue with comments?
Thank you for your comments. We'll go ahead with comments from the board, starting with the mayor. Go ahead, start with
sorry.
you want to continue? All right, go ahead,
No
Councilwoman.
comments. I'd like to wish Mr. Evans happy anniversary today.
Hey,
Thank you. Thank you.
it is.
Thank you.
Happy anniversary.
And again, happy Father's Day to the fathers. Happy Father's Day. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilwoman Botel.
Thank you. A reminder that the Singer Island Town Hall meeting will be at 6 o'clock on June 29th. You must RSVP for the town hall meeting because we have constraints with the space. It's the same night as the Jazz on the Beach. So I promise that the town hall meeting will be 1 hour, no longer, because we all want to get to Jazz on the Beach that night. World Oceans Day, as you heard earlier, will be June 9th. It's Friday, day after tomorrow. The beautiful art exhibition will be up for 2 months until the end of the summer, but the concert will be tomorrow night and the VIP reception as well. We will be moving forward with the Palm Beach State College, City of Riviera Beach College Credit Certificate Program. So if you're interested in taking college courses right here in Riviera Beach, please contact my office. Mary Small will take your information and pass it along to the college. That's msmall@rivierabeach.org. And happy Father's Day to everybody, especially Mr. Evans with his new little one, and to everybody on council as well and staff who celebrates that day. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Lanier, Pro Tem.
I would like to express my deepest gratitude and appreciation for the volunteers that came out this past Saturday for a neighborhood cleanup. I'm on a mission to go from neighborhood to neighborhood, making an effort to beautify those neighborhoods and also to get those neighbors involved with that cleanup. We had over 25 volunteers. We cleaned up the area that's right in front of John F. Kennedy High School, 15th through 21st Streets, and it was a very, very good turnout, and the residents also got involved. So thank you so much to those city employees, to those volunteers that came out to participate last Saturday. Also, the city has a Juneteenth calendar. There are activities that are going on throughout the month of June. With June 13th, there's a Conversations, Connections, and Literacy 1619 project that's on June 13th. June 14th, there is a Juneteenth family night at the Riviera Beach Public Library starting at 6. And then there's also a 1619 project academic discussion from my office at the Riviera Beach Marina starting at 6 p.m. And you know, there's another 1619 project conversation that's happening at the Marina as well. And we need to have as many of these conversations as absolutely possible when it comes to talking about the history of African Americans in this country and getting it right for the people who live in the state of Florida, of course. And then also, too, we have a movie night, June 17th, 7 p.m. over at Bicentennial Park, and the movie is Miss Juneteenth. So please come out to all of our activities and especially our 1619 discussions in regards to African American history. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Ms. Miller Anderson?
Yes, just wanted to just kind of touch back on the Palm Tran situation. Mr. Forbes, at our meeting last week, I did ask that Mr. Forbes and his team provide an update to the city because the 4 routes that they're talking about doing that pilot program with, one of them does impact the city of Riviera Beach, and it's I know it goes past the Route 21 is what it is, and it certainly goes past Azure Estates. And so I know a lot of them utilize that route. It's a little more in detail, but basically, as he stated earlier, the county commission are looking to cut the Palm Tram's budget. The board, that advisory board that I sit on, we are not in favor of that at all. And the areas in which are being impacted are a lot of our underserved communities. And so what we're looking to do is hopefully have our residents get a little more educated on what they're trying to do, and then also speak with our state reps and our senators, and it impacts Mangonia Park, Lake Park as well. I think Royal Palm, Wellington area. So the hopes is to reach out to all of those elected officials. And what I mentioned at the meeting last week, Dr. Botel, was to see if they could attend be on the agenda for the July meeting and speak to all of the commissioners at the meeting and hopefully be able to get them on board as well. And obviously we need to speak with our county commissioners because I wasn't at well, I actually was at a staff level, but basically what it sounds like is they don't see some of them do not see the value in public transportation. And so Palm Tran is being looked at as we need to cut the budget. And they're looking at the lowest 10 performing routes. There's 10 of them, but they picked Riviera Beach as one of them. And Riviera Beach is not one of the bottom 4. So I'm going to send the slides to Mr. Evans so he can send it to the council so that everyone can be able to take a look at it. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I would like to know more about, and I'm sure you can fill me in. I want to ride the routes that our people would take, like, it's Route 21, is that what you said?
Well, that's the one that they're talking about cutting.
Okay.
I'll get you the book.
Okay.
There's a book. with
That's the
all
one I want to
routes.
ride. I want to know from people who have to take that. I want the stories of the people who have to depend on that to get to work, to get to doctor's appointments, whatever. So when I go on the 13th, I can relay those stories.
Okay. All right. That's it from a happy Mother's Day, happy Father's Day. I know we always try to take over, but no, we'll share. Happy Father's Day and happy anniversary, Ms. Evans.
Thank you. And to all my colleagues and to the board, happy Father's Day this weekend. Next weekend. This weekend, I'm going to invite all of my colleagues, all the residents, staff. We are hosting with the city and one of my district events, our first annual, and it's actually the third that this organization is hosting, the Soul Seafood Festival. It's going to be this Saturday. So I'd love for everyone to come out. Commissioners, there will be a section and table with our seniors, and we will have an area for everybody to just fellowship. It is a free event for all the residents. So it's going to be from 3 to 9 on Saturday. There'll be live music, entertainment, a Kids Zone, and it'll be a great event. It'll be a seafood, and I think we need to really build on this for the future to see if we can keep building this and have it as a city-sponsored event next year and just kind of have this as a staple in the community. So thank you, everyone. Mr. Evans, there was one comment, though. For future moving forward, I'd want to see us get some more updates and get more notice with kind of legislative updates. I want us to lean on our state senator and our House rep, but at the same time, it felt kind of rushed and I didn't have any background and I didn't have the presentation. So maybe if we can just plan ahead or just kind of hold off on rushing things, because for next session, I want to make sure that we're well equipped to go up there and get as much knowledge as possible. So maybe next time we'll just push to see if we can do quarterly meetings and get it on the calendar ahead of time. Thank you. Colleagues, additional comments? Motion to adjourn? Thank you.
Good. Oh.